I love to cook at home. Having good kitchenware makes all the difference in the world. Not only does good equipment make prep and cooking easier, but it makes it more enjoyable. That's why I'm a huge fan of Made In Cookware. Their wide range of products are designed to be professional quality, but for you right in your home. I have over a dozen pieces from Made In, including pots, pans, a pizza steel, knives, and even beer glasses. Yeah, they have glassware too. They have it all. Take your home cooking to the next level by upgrading your cookware by going to unitedwedrink.com/madein. Find out why pros like Sean Brock, Nancy Silverton, and Eric Repair trust Made In. Go to unitedwedrink.com/madein, that's MADEIN, and upgrade your kitchen and cooking today. The opinions and statements in this podcast do not represent those of the host's employers, co-workers, family, or imaginary friends. Now enjoy the show.
Happy hour? More like amateur hour. Welcome to United We Drink.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the United We Drink podcast right here on unitedwedrink.com, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and wherever fine podcasts are found. My name is Mikey Revich. I'm here doing this intro alone because we have a guest, a really fun guest, one that we are really excited to share with you. It's one of the longest, if not the longest, conversations we've ever had on the show. So I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time here. We are joined today by Spencer Wills. He is the head brewer at Sceptre Brewing Arts in Decatur, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. He is a former Florida brewer, so we have a little bit of a connection there with him. And we have him on to talk about his journey through beer, his issues with mental health, his issues with bad brewery owners, and so much more. So I'm not going to waste any time. Let's get into our conversation with Spencer. Well, Spencer, thank you for being on the show. You're a longtime listener. I jumped on your thing. You're supposed to do what's that, first time, long time?
Yeah, some shit like that.
I stepped on your toes there.
Oh, no, it's okay. This is actually like my first podcast I've done from a beer perspective. So it's, yeah, y'all can just chaperone me. It'll be fine.
Well, let me just jump in and say, what other kinds of podcasts have you done?
All right, so only one. I have a good friend who his favorite band is Oasis, and he did a podcast for a little bit that he brought friends on to talk about a single Oasis song. And that's the only podcast that everyone on. I don't remember what the song was. It was one I'd never heard before, and I got pretty drunk while we recorded it.
You're like, I don't really know how I feel.
So you didn't pick the song,
but maybe.
No, he loves Oasis more than anyone I've ever met. Loves everything they've ever put out, and I'm not one to knock that kind of stuff. And yeah, I don't remember I could probably figure out what song it was, but I didn't hate
questions.
It. Is it called? But anyway, here's Wonderwall.
No,
because I feel like that's what the name of the podcast should be.
He called it something stupid and pretentious. It was
maybe, but so how soon in advance did you know what the song was?
I think like a week before.
Oh, okay. So you did have a chance to listen to it.
Yeah. I listened to it a few times, and
it would be kind of funny to right on the podcast make you listen to it for the first time and be like, "All right, let's talk about this for an hour."
Yeah, it's like it's like the Drumeo channel on YouTube where they have these like famous drummers listen to a song they've never heard before and try and play it. Yeah, that would have been more fun actually.
Yeah, what's his name? Chad, whatever from Red Hot Chili Peppers. I saw Red Hot Chili Peppers a couple weeks ago, and I'm not.
Are you
necessarily-
seeing things? People who
I was
are
gonna ask you,
Gnats,
what are you
gnats,
fucking moving your
gnat-
hands at?
Hey,
I
I
think
don't.
That's the house ghost.
Tim
We
may be
get-
on LSD, everybody. So this is going to be a fun podcast. He's seeing things. He's crawling on the walls.
I don't know. If
Can you taste colors?
understand that the state bird of Minnesota is a mosquito. So, anyway, what I was saying is that YouTube channel, the drummer for Red Hot Chili Peppers is probably the most talented person in their band right now. Like I watched some of those with him, songs he had
Not just
literally
right
never
now.
heard of.
He's always
nailed.
been the most talented guy in that band.
But he hasn't always been their drummer.
Mm.
hasn't.
Wait,
He hasn't.
No.
I
I
feel
don't
like
listen
he's
to
been
Red
there.
Hot Peppers, so I
He's
don't
been
really
there
know what's
since
going
at
on
least
these days.
like was One Hot Minute before Blood Sugar Sex Magic?
Nope. Blood Sugar Sex Magic was before that, and then
It was
before that
before
was Mother's Milk, and before that was Freaky
That's right.
Styly. And I don't think he was on Mother's Milk or Freaky Styly. I don't even think he was on Blood Sugar Sex Magic. I think he was on One Hot Minute, but I could be wrong.
I think you're wrong on that, but I'm not
Well,
an expert. You want to start talking about Weird Al Yankovic? I can give you a real rundown of the entire
yeah.
catalog.
Yeah.
In fact,
so,
I
he
wanna do a
came in
podcast.
1988. So he was there. He was there for Mother's Milk.
so he was on Mother's Milk, but he wasn't original. He wasn't on Freaky Styly.
No,
and
he
wasn't.
wasn't.
Yeah. Okay. I couldn't remember when he joined, but he was. I just knew Chad
We
Smith
got
wasn't
that
the
figured
original.
out, guys. We got that figured out. Everything we've tried to accomplish today, we've done. I think we can just pack it in.
So
There-
we're going to turn into a Red Hot Chili Peppers podcast
Oh no.
where we talk about one
Lord,
song.
please.
And if we're going to talk about one song, we're talking about them all because
Jesus.
that's all of their songs sound the same.
I
okay.
appreciate the like completionist aspect of something like that, right? So
Oh, Kevin is the ultimate completionist.
Sweet.
Like he will make himself suffer through something that he no longer actually likes to finish it.
Yeah, kind of like this podcast.
It's a good ending point. And we're just starting, which is
Okay, so anyway,
Somehow
let's
poetic.
actually start the podcast.
So yeah, Spencer, you
We
are.
haven't introduced our listeners to what we're listening to or any of those things.
What are we listening to? Are we doing our things at the at?
No,
we
like
can-
like a real intro to the podcast. Like you haven't done like a.
so you
actual-
have so apparently you haven't listened to this podcast because Mike
Yeah.
always does a pre-recorded intro of our guest.
Oh, the guest
So-
ones. Yeah, you're right. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I forgot about the guest.
He- he's just
this-
assuming you're part of the show now.
This is
Spencer. Like,
this is my
welcome.
wait.
new,
This is
new
my
co-host.
oh yeah whatever.
I mean, I'll be real. One of the reasons that I reached out to you, Mike, too, is listening to the last couple episodes, and I was like, "Oh, I agree with y'all on a lot of things philosophically." So that was kind of why I messaged you. I was like, "Hey, I would love to come on and chat because I think it'd be fun."
What specifically, so we can feel good about ourselves? No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry, Kevin, but it was the pay one.
Oh yeah. Oh, I was also on that show.
No, you were.
Uh,
That was the big one, but also Tim talking about mental health stuff, which has been a big thing for me in this industry. But yeah, I don't know, and just also state of industry stuff too. It's like talking about where everything's at right now. I have a little bit of insight into what's going on in the Florida scene, not as much as I used to, just because I've been in Atlanta since 2018, so I'm more focused on here. But I started in Florida, so I always kind of keep my ear to the ground on what's going on there. So I have a lot of friends and stuff that are in the Florida brewing scene, so I'm always interested in seeing what's going on. But also just like the overall trends and what's happening right now. I work at a brew pub. We're small, so which I think is the future, and I would say the sustained future. So I don't know. I'm pretty opinionated about all that stuff too. It's I just gel with y'all philosophically on a lot of stuff. So that's definitely why I wanted to come on.
So let's before we get into talking about where you're at now and some of that, let's tell people a little bit about you. You are an expat of the People's Republic of Florida, correct?
I escaped.
Uh, so I think I met you at a Hunapoo Day. Was it? I think it was a Hunapoo Day. You were at
I,
Grasslands, right?
I probably wasn't there. You probably met Gabe,
I
and
knew. Well, I knew Gabe at the time, but I
yeah,
thought I thought I met you too. But
it may have been Andrew,
oh, okay,
who was our bar manager at the time. I was slaving away in the brewery, so I didn't get to go to any of the fun events.
okay.
is is kind of how all that shook out, which wasn't a bad thing in hindsight. But we've just been so I know Joel. Met him through Gabe when I was at Grasslands. I think I've only actually met Joel in person like twice, and it was still when he was at previous brewery that y'all do not discuss the name of. And
See, he knows. He
yeah,
knows.
I see it. I've heard this. I also met him when he was opening the pub in West Palm.
Okay.
Like they weren't. I stopped in there one time on my way down. My mom lives in Fort Lauderdale, so I'm down there quite a bit. I was like on my way down from Tallahassee, and my wife and I stopped in to say hi to him, and like he had no beer on tap yet or anything, like just stuff in fermenters, nothing ready. So that was the last time I saw him, but like communicated over the internet for quite a long time now.
Joel doesn't remember meeting me at JBF back in like 2014 or 2013 or something like that. So it doesn't matter.
No, I mean,
I don't even think it counts.
I tell
And
people all the time, even to this
You're
day,
not
it's like
bitter at
meet
all.
someone new, and you're like, I always tell them straight up, I'm like, hey, it's nice to meet you. Just gonna be honest with you, probably not gonna remember your name tomorrow. If you have a card, awesome. And I'll put that in my wallet and remember, oh, I talked with this person from this brewery, and then I can look at it and like, oh shit, I have their phone number now. So, but yeah, most of the time, I
Oh
can't
yeah,
remember
no,
shit
I'm
these
definitely
days.
the victim of no, Tim. We've met like several times.
That's me with Kevin's bar manager. He never, ever, ever remembers me.
That
And
seems a
I and
little
I
insane because I would assume you frequent that brewery
I
occasionally.
I really don't as much as I used to, but even when I did come in there more often, he'd be like, "Hey man, I'm Eric." I'm like, "Yep, I know you, Eric. Know you."
I really hope he's playing the long game with you and that he knows who you are every time and he's just having a little fun internally in his brain like, man, how many times can I do this before this guy fucking explodes on me? So,
I swear, like he does that like 12 or 13 more times, and I'm out of there.
All right, Squeak. Um, well, I mean, to be fair too, like I'm now trimmed up quite considerably, but for the longest time in the brewing industry, I was your stereotypical old white guy with a long beard. So we all look alike.
Yeah, no, I definitely.
Okay.
I'm not a unique looking person in what we do. Like
Yeah,
maybe someone remembers a tattoo I have or something, but even then, that's not
yeah.
really asking much.
People used to be like, "You're such a hipster." I'm like, no, I'm in craft. Oh fuck.
Oh no.
Yeah, I am.
by the transitive property.
Yeah, yeah.
So
A
did you
equals
start
B.
out at Grasslands? Was that your
Mhm.
first brewing gig?
Yeah, so I mean, just like a little bit of history and my beer career to start. So I did undergrad and my master's degree at Florida State. Um, you know, going to keggers and drinking whatever shit beer was available. I always enjoyed beer. And then when I turned 21, um, I bought a 6-pack of Cigar City High Life, and I was like, oh, this is really fucking cool. So kind of spiraled and got into craft beer on top of that. Um, I was in my last semester of grad school. I was working a couple odd jobs here and there. Met Gabe Grass, who started Grasslands, and his taproom manager, my buddy Andrew. And I was always just like, I want to work at a brewery while I'm still in school and like figuring out whatever the fuck I want to do. And so I just kind of pestered them for a job. And my very first beer job was checking IDs at their door on their opening night. And then I ended up bartending there about 2 months after they opened, just picking up some odd shifts. And then they weren't even, this is still like, we're a brewery, but we're not brewing beer yet. We just have a tap room and we're open. We're waiting on our equipment permits and all that kind of stuff. So the first 6 months they were open, they weren't even actually producing anything. And then they got a little 2-barrel psycho-brew system in there and started making beer. And I wasn't doing anything. I had graduated from grad school at this point and was not going to pursue what I was doing. And I was like, I'll go clean kegs. I'll clean the floors. Like, I don't care. I'm not doing anything. And then
What was the grad degree that you wanted to go clean kegs?
I have a master's degree in sport management. But I was going to go into academia was really the plan with it. I wasn't going to do anything practical with it because that industry and what you're looking at is a lot of unpaid internships for years and years. And, there's nothing good financially that comes out of it other than breaking your back. And so I don't want to do that. And
For brewing instead.
Yeah, I know, right? It was
Totally
it was
different.
at the time it made more because I mean,
Checks out.
we're also talking like Florida beer scene in 2013, 2014 when everything looks like it's gonna be great and everyone's just gonna make great beer and print money. Like, why would you not want to be ground up on something like that? So yeah, definitely drank the Kool-Aid on that a little bit. But I was gonna go into a PhD program for it. I just my last 2 semesters of grad school, I just learned about how academia works, and I fucking hated it. I failed my thesis defense, and I had to rewrite an entire chapter of my master's thesis 2 weeks before I graduated. Just like, and it was just semantics bullshit too. So I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this. And then I started bartending right around that time and made some money. So I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna stick with this for a little while and see what happens. But I really wanted to learn how to do all this stuff. There was I never homebrewed before either. I think I went to like one of Gabe's homebrewing things before they opened in Grasslands just to and I literally just hung out and had a beer with him and didn't look at process or anything like that.
That's basically what homebrewing is.
It's always funny if people still ask me to this. I've been brewing pro for 10 years now, and people still ask me sometimes, "Oh, do you homebrew too?" I'm like, no. And I
Why
never
would you do that
will.
to yourself?
Exactly.
So I have to say, I mean, you belong on this show. I mean, your story is the quintessential, and I know I'm going to get very local with Florida, Tim. I'm sorry, but every single person I know, yeah, of course, always for the rest of my life. Every single story of a brewer or anyone in the beer industry from South Florida, especially around the time you're talking about, I got in around 2009, you were a few years later, but still around that time, that first, 5 to 10 years of the early bubble in Florida, it's all a bunch of people that were just hanging around when someone was starting a brewery up and they just raised their hand and said, "Oh, I'm Fly. I'm Pilot. Like
Yeah, exactly.
I do things." I mean, it's all of us. That's how we got into this stuff.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
And that's not hyper local, by the way.
Yeah. I can only imagine. I'm sure in it was probably the same deal like in the 90s on the West Coast, and a couple years after that in Denver, and a couple years after that in Nashville, right? So all these like big like stalwart markets now, like they all had to start that way to some degree. I'm sure there weren't a bunch of people that went over to Germany and went to beer school and they were like, all right, I'm going to start my own brewery now.
And I think that stuff probably still happens today, like with the ones who I know probably to a lesser degree, but someone might be opening up, and some people in the local brewing scene go and are like, "Hey, congratulations, hang out. Do you have a need for anyone like me and could pay me a little bit more than what I'm making over at such and such a place?"
Yeah.
I
would
but
say
it's way more networky now.
Oh, for sure. I would say so Georgia's beer scene is interesting because it does, especially stuff outside of Atlanta, really reminds me of Florida kind of back then. I don't spend a lot of time outside of Atlanta going to these breweries, but when I do, it has that same kind of feel with it, right? You still have a lot of newer breweries opening up, and it's definitely a couple guys that were home brewers that were starting up something. And luckily, most people understand that there is a knowledge base to access to get better at what you're doing, and I think they're starting to do that more, but it's still, that it there were so many breweries in Florida that were like, yeah, I homebrewed and dad said my beer tasted good and gave me $100,000, and then they're open for 5 years and their beer shit the entire time, and then they close. And ooh, why'd this place close? Like, probably because the beer was never good, but what do I know?
I mean, I don't know a whole lot about Atlanta other than
You could have stopped after you said, "I don't know a whole lot."
fair.
Uh,
I don't, but like I mean, like everyone knows Sweetwater. I think that's kind of
Yeah.
the
I would even wager that Creature Comforts is now like the Georgia brewery.
Yeah, I'd probably say more so than Sweetwater at this point too. And it's
I
not that
think
like Sweetwater isn't. It's not like they're not present, but it's funny that I would say as far as like locals in Atlanta don't really care anymore.
well,
It's they go ahead.
yeah, no, I was gonna say that they're kind of like the Surly of Georgia. No one here like gives a shit about Surly, but
Mhm.
like Sweetwater's on all Delta flights, right? So
Yeah,
from a national perspective, they're still
correct.
probably the
Yeah,
one that everyone like people in Iowa don't know Creature Comforts necessarily, but if you've ever had to drive up to Minneapolis and take a flight to Phoenix, you're
yeah,
gonna see Sweetwater, and I think that's
yeah.
what
That makes
made them
sense.
like,
I
right?
and I think from a barrelage perspective, they are still producing more in the state of Georgia with Creature Comforts like right behind it, nipping at their heels. And then half that amount, which is crazy, the amount that Creature Comforts produces now, half that amount is where Monday Night is at, and they're the other biggest brand in Atlanta these days.
Yeah, for some reason I always forget about them as an Atlanta brand. I've known about them for a while. The last time I was in Savannah, I had a beer from them that was pretty nice. But I don't know why I just forget about them from time to time.
They do some really excellent stuff, and they were kind of like the turning point for craft beer in Georgia, I'd say, as far as quality is concerned, right? And it getting better. So just a little bit of Georgia history. Um, Pre 2017, Georgia had these really insane laws that you couldn't have a tap room. And what I mean by tap room was like you couldn't have a bar where you could just go up and open a tab and get as many beers as you wanted to. That was illegal. You had to go to the brewery, pay $10 to enter, you get a glass, and then it was stipulated that the brewery had to give you a tour of the brewery, and then you got tickets that gave you samples in quotations of the beers. And usually $10 equated to 6 samples of a beer. But they also had this insane thing where it's like if you turned in 3 tickets, you got a full pint instead. Like it was dumb. It was when the Brewers Guild like actually started getting some money in. It was the first thing they went and tackled because yeah, what a fucking batshit insane law.
Did
Um,
that apply to brew pubs or was it just production
Only
breweries?
production. Yeah, it didn't
Okay.
apply to brew pubs. So if you got the brew pub licensing, you were totally immune from that. And the only thing you had to do at a brew pub was you had to have a restaurant. And I don't know, I don't remember what the balance is, but it had to be something like 49% of your sales had to be food based or something like that.
Uh, and are brew pubs allowed to distribute
Hmm.
there?
Yeah,
Okay.
they could. Yeah, they
So
could
yeah, I
distribute
mean,
it.
obviously you can package,
Hmm.
case in point, but that's pretty awesome that you can distribute too.
Yeah,
Self-distro
no
available
self
there?
distro. Yeah, so self distro is the big thing that the guild is currently working on. But
Okay.
the problem is like our guild is small. There's like 80 plus breweries in the state right now, and I want to say 80% of them are in the guild right now. The number might be a little bit lower,
There's
but
only 80 breweries in Georgia?
I might be wrong. It might be upwards of 90 now. I'm pretty
'Cause
bad
there's
at
'cause I feel like there's more than 100 in Florida, and I just feel like Georgia should have more than
well,
us.
we can always look at the old Google machine. It'll
Well,
tell us. But
well, Mike, have you checked that number? I mean, I think 4 breweries closed in the last 5 hours. So
Oh, yes,
may
yes,
have
right.
I
Well,
see that
that's
one and that one, yeah.
well, according to Axios article in 2022, it says 155, which it's definitely less right now. So,
we're
80, 155. They're both numbers. I
yeah.
mean,
yeah,
come on.
I want to say
national.
we're like 240 something here in Minnesota. Which is kind of surprising because at least Atlanta has like other metropolitan areas outside of Atlanta.
Yeah,
Where,
well, kind of.
well, I
It
compared to Minnesota.
like
We've got Minneapolis, St. Paul, and then open space.
True. Yeah. I mean, like, there's Savannah, which is kind of big, but I think actually Savannah, population-wise, is the fifth largest city in Georgia, and the second largest city I know is Columbus, which is about an hour and a half from Atlanta. But I think there's only like 2 or 3 breweries there. It's not outside of Atlanta. It's definitely it's really interspersed out. Every town at this point kind of has their own brewery, and like if they don't, they probably have one opening or in plans to open pretty soon. But it's becoming a little bit more hyper local ish here, and in that every town has their own brewery. But yeah, Atlanta, I wouldn't even call Atlanta oversaturated, especially if you're talking about the whole metro area. Even though Metro Atlanta is where all the closures are happening right now.
You remind me of Minnesota like 5 years ago. So we also weren't allowed to have tap rooms until 2012, right? So we were about 5 years ahead of you. Brew pubs still can't distribute, but it is kind of one of those things where once you kind of open up for people to do that, slowly the other smaller breweries trickle in here and there.
Yeah.
So so it seems very familiar. Like you've got like 1 or 2 big ones that everyone knows about, and then all the other kind of, like, I even hesitate to call them small, but from a scale of like, Sweetwater or Surly or something like that, down to all these other guys, even guys that I feel like are really busy and brewing constantly, are still pretty goddamn tiny.
Yeah, for sure. Part of the issue with that original law was if you wanted to own a brewery in Georgia, you had to do distro capacity, right? And it was pretty easy to get into like your Publix and your Krogers around here, like no matter who you were. It was just because the main distributors here all distributed there, so they were like, if you can provide us X amount a package every month, like we can get you on there. And it was kind of just like, for the distributors, it didn't matter what it was just getting it out there. It's like, this is a local, throw it on there. But a lot of breweries weren't, no one actually had the proper investment into those breweries to make that work properly. And I worked at one of those breweries when I first moved to Atlanta in 2018. I was working at a brewery that had a 5-barrel system and 10 15-barrel fermenters, so you had to triple batch brew everything. And it was because most of it had to go into cans to go to our distributor to put them in a Publix and a Kroger.
I can't even imagine having a 5-barrel system that would put anything into cans. That sounds.
It was also the worst brewing system I've ever worked on. It was it wasn't manufactured by any reputable known. It was literally put together by someone, I think they told me, in Washington State, that knew how to weld stainless steel.
Yeah, it sounds like we talk a lot of time about like some of these small craft brewers being glorified homebrew, but that literally sounds like glorified homebrewing.
Pretty much what
Spencer,
it was.
Do you have any idea what your profitability was in a case of beer?
I don't remember.
Because
nothing.
Because I can imagine like losing 50 cents a case. Like that's what it sounds like to me.
It's probably so. I think the only
sounds
thing,
conservative.
Yeah, I think the only thing that place had going for it at the time was the overhead was insanely low for where it was, because the brewery was in a neighborhood that hadn't gotten gentrified yet. So it was in this warehouse, and it's honestly kind of big warehouse, like 6,000 square feet, I think, and that included like tap room space and everything. And I think when I got there in 2018, they were paying less than $2,000 a month on rent on it.
Oh wow,
which is insane, obviously.
But even can cost alone on a 15-barrel batch.
Right. Well, that was the funny thing, is we did have enough space to get the semi-truck MOQ from Ball before they even changed all of it too. But it's like we basically had an entire section of our warehouse that was just printed cans. That it was before they made it so you had to get like one brand in a semi, and you could like split the brands. So that's what we were doing. We had like 4 core beers that were all on printed cans. So we were getting the cans for like 9 cents a can at the time. So wasn't that bad actually. And they bought their canning line pretty cheap, used from a brewery over in Alabama. So they were, overhead wise, it wasn't bad, but it was still fucking insane. Like we were doing, I think the first year I was there, we did like almost 1,500 barrels on a 5-barrel system.
Jesus.
Well,
Yeah.
because I was gonna say that's like, so I know 4 brands, but 8,169 cans of pallet times 20, like with 24 pallet, you're still like at 48,000 cans
Wait,
per each
Kevin
brand.
and I's breweries were doing that probably a few years ago on
Yeah.
20 barrel systems.
Yeah. I know. No, it was fucking insane. And like I was in that job about 6 months, and I told my boss, I'm like, y'all know this is nuts, right? Like this is not a sustainable thing at all. And but it was just like the way that things were over there. So we're like, no, this is fine. Like, are you fucking kidding me? It's like it's a big, there's a big ego problem at that place.
No, I think the motto for craft beer is, no, this is fine, don't worry about it.
And
yes,
there's a
correct.
big ego problem here at this brewery would be another motto for a craft brewery. I've been doing it this way for 15 years, and 12 of those years it was on my back patio. So I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, just talking about this place a little bit. So this was my second brewery that I worked at. I worked at Grasslands for about 2.5 years, or 3.5 years, and my wife and I we'd been dating for about a year, and we were like ready to move in together with each other. And it was either we were on month-to-month leases. We were living in Tallahassee, so it was either move in together in Tallahassee and have to sign a year-long lease, or we can go anywhere. It's like, who cares? She'd never really spent any time in Atlanta. I'd come up a couple of times and I always really liked it, so I was like, hey, let's go check it out. I have a friend who was working at New Realm at the time. She like showed us the brewery and everything, and we just kind of hung out in the city for a few days, and I really liked it, and my wife really liked it too. So I was like, all right, cool. Let's just try and move here. And then I applied to the first job that I found and got an interview, and then got it. And I was like, let's just go. Like, who cares? I get to this job. I'm going to name this brewery too. I am going to talk an immense amount of shit about them as well. But I am fine doing that because they just announced they're closing like this week.
Poetic
this place is called Eventide Brewing. Their owner / head brewer wanted to get away from brewing and work on the sales side of things. So they were looking initially just for a shift brewer to go in. And I was like, cool, whatever. I'll just take that. $15 an hour and go in. And I wanted to quit on day 3. Like, they had no fucking idea what they were doing. Want to talk about like horror story stuff? I'm following around one of the guys in the cellar on the first day, and they're going to do a transfer fermenter into Bright. This is when I learned they weren't sanitizing their tanks. Just doing a caustic and an acid rinse, and then rinsing it with water, and then just fucking sending it. I'm like, cool. So y'all don't use PAA? They're like, no, we don't need to. I'm like, oh, okay.
They don't need to.
Yeah, that's what they said. They were like, caustic kills everything. I'm like, it doesn't, but all right. And then
you rinse it with water.
Yep.
Yeah, they can put it. Well, that's the one thing I used to always get, especially like when I worked at the distillery, is because they got really lazy and like, well, we haven't issues yet. I'm like, well, there's an old saying in brewing: brewers that have had an infection and brewers that are going to have an infection.
Yes.
Right? Like so many people get cocky. Well, we haven't had an issue yet. I'm like, well, yeah, cool. I haven't gotten into an accident yet. It doesn't mean I don't want my airbags.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that was your first clue that things were not right.
Yeah, and like I knew the beer wasn't quite right when I got there either, but like, it's like when I went there for my in-person interview after a phone interview, there were a lot of people in the tap room. So I was like, all right, well, at least has like good look, and it's right in the middle of a neighborhood, in a decent, well-desired neighborhood in the city. So it seemed like a really good spot. So I was like, there's a lot of potential here, and that's kind of what made me want to stay there.
So this was Atlanta.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it was called what again?
This is Eventide Brewing.
Eventide. Now, yeah. I'm not a geography major, and I know that that Georgia touches the water, but Atlanta is nowhere near.
Nowhere even close.
Okay. No. Okay. Yeah. Just want to make sure
it's even. It's always the same. very far away.
Eventide is
Eventide.
apparently an old English word for twilight.
Okay.
that's-
I just thought like that doesn't make sense to me. I
That
thought
was
like maybe were you talking about Savannah or something? Like
no. That was about as far as the branding got that place though. So,
yeah.
but yeah, so they were doing shit like that. They start to before they transfer the beer. I'm like, all right, they're gonna purge it. They're gonna purge the tank, right? Dude hooks up the CO2 line to the carb stone on the bright tank, opens it for like 60 seconds, closes it, and sends the beer over. Yeah. So I wanted to die at that point. I was just like whole and like I'm nude at this point too, but like I'm not that stupid. Like I'd been brewing for about 3 years, and like the thing with Grasslands, and I really really appreciate that place, and I appreciate Gabe for giving me the chance to do stuff because like I made a lot of bad beer there too. Like I was really kind of flying by the seat of my pants though. I was just learning what I could on the internet, and the guy who was the original head brewer there was a home brewer and never wanted to do anything past whatever crazy shit he was coming up with, not wanting to like improve anything, right? So I was really spending a lot of time trying to how do I get better at what I'm doing. Proof Brewing Company in Tallahassee, who I'm still really good friends with, those guys kind of figured it out really early on, and they actually I love telling people this. I'm the reason that their brewers had to sign an NDA for a while, because I kept going over there and asking them what I was doing wrong. And the owners caught wind of it, and they were really the only other big brewery in Tallahassee at the time. So they were like, "Oh, don't talk to him. Don't tell him why we're doing well right now," which is like fucking stupid in hindsight, but like I also get it from their perspective. But yeah, those guys helped me out a lot. The first time, so we started with like a small 2-barrel system that we we're making total shit on, and then we did get a 15-barrel system in there. And I like commissioned it and put it together. Like I said, not really knowing what I was doing, but I figured it out as I went. And the first couple of beers I put off there were not good. And but all the dudes from Proof like came over one day, and they were just straight like, "Hey, dude, beer's not good." Like, okay. What do I do? But they just kind of sat me down and ran me through it. Like I was on the right track and everything. And after that happened, it was a really nice experience to have. Like it sucked at the time for sure, because I thought I was doing something cool. But yeah, this wasn't good. And they told me, and I improved from there, and I started to get a lot better. So yeah, so I come into Eventide after having kind of figured things out a little bit, and it was just like kind of turned the page back fully when I got there. The problem was they didn't want to listen to me. it was it was like, no, we've been doing it this way and it's fine. No, like it's not though. It's like your beer has off flavors in it. It's not, it tastes bad. And like, yeah, you have a lot of people in the neighborhood that are coming through and drinking the beer all the time, but like they're gonna catch on. This isn't something that you can just keep doing all the time, and then if you don't try to improve, like you can't survive as a business.
Yeah, it's one of the things that has frustrated the hell out of me for the last 10 years in craft brewing is that people don't have a problem with shit product if it sells.
Right.
Right.
To a certain point, I feel like, because we had the episode before, and I think it was before Tim became a co-host, with talking about does quality matter, and there is a South Florida brewery that I'm not going to name who has been making bad beer for a long time, still in business, but at one point they were like in every Publix around here. They were all over the place. Like many bars had them on tap. You don't see that anymore because it eventually caught up to them. Like people will accept it for so long before they're like, okay, this hasn't gotten any better. And then the general public, the ones who really drive sales, will be like, nope, that wasn't good. Not going to buy that again, and just move on.
Yeah, I think you're right. Sorry, I'm gonna just cut you straight off. I don't care, Kevin.
Well, I know.
No. What I was gonna say is like you're right. It does. I think what I was saying is for owners, it's hard for them, I guess, to understand. Right.
Oh yeah.
Right. So if those guys were resistant to change, it's because like, what do we care? What we're making sells. right? They don't have
Well,
the forward vision.
But they also
to
have
go
the,
back to the ego things, and now I'm cutting off Kevin.
Kevin just shouldn't be on this podcast. It's fine.
These breweries should have like right above their door, like leave your ego at the door. We already have one.
Right.
But
Now,
no,
Kevin, go ahead.
What I'm trying to get at is that what we're in some ways talking about in this is that you have the people that are at your bar who found you for whatever reason. Maybe they know a little bit about craft beer, they don't know anything about craft beer, but they're the ones sitting at that bar saying, oh, "This is the greatest stuff of all time," and you're getting that constant feedback of how good you are and how good you are and how much you love the beer, and you make a change for the better, and they're like, "Oh, that beer doesn't taste like it used to. I don't like it as much," and but the beer's better. But you pissed off Steve at the end of the bar, and Steve doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. So we have this feedback loop from the customers. And the second that it branches out to someone who doesn't have any nostalgia for your brand, who doesn't walk around and go, "Whoa, how cool is this that we have a brewery in our own neighborhood?" and isn't just, mesmerized by the fact of just big stainless steel tanks right over there, then you don't have the magic, right? So that exact thing, we saw that, Mike, in the brewery that shall not be named. Like, there was how many people that would come in and say great things about beer, and I made the fucking beer, and I would go, "That's not good beer. Like, why are you saying nice things about this when this is one of the most mediocre IPAs I've ever had in my life?"
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it was their first IPA, so they thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread.
yeah.
Right.
I worked at a brewery where I really desperately wanted to change a recipe, and the owner was like, "Oh, but if we change that recipe, we're going to lose accounts." Then I was like, "But how many more accounts could we get?" Right? Again, it's that short-sightedness of, yeah, we're gonna lose the people who like this beer. And I'm like, yeah, but if only 7 people like this beer and I can make it so that 27 people like this beer, I'd rather do that. But they're so afraid of losing those 7, they don't want to take that risk.
I have this conversation probably once a month.
Yeah.
About
I mean,
everything that's in the tap room and our philosophy on the world. Yes.
Yeah. The guys at Eventide wouldn't let me make a hazy IPA while I was there, which is like, it's fine. It's fine, around 2019. Like, if you don't like them, but like, we literally have random people that never been to the brewery before coming in and asking for them, because it's kind of what people judge breweries on these days, for better or for worse.
Yeah,
And
I got grumpy about hazy IPAs in 2014, but by 2019, I'd fully embraced them.
yeah, it was still, especially in Georgia, there wasn't anyone really doing it, and doing it well, I should say, because people were doing them, and there's hazy IPA has been a weird thing for me as well, because I was really against them when they first came out. Yeah, exactly. It's I think is that Sickle and Peace?
This is the pale.
Yeah, the
dry hop
pale.
pale.
I think that's the best hazy I've ever made. So
This is one of the best hazies I've ever had.
Oh, cool.
Is that what you're drinking, Mike?
Yes.
I better go grab that.
I'd like
Yeah.
to just talk about this for a little while because this is a really good beer.
Sure.
I was looking at it like probably about 15 minutes ago, like while you guys were talking, and I was looking at the label. I'm like, holy fuck, this is only a pale ale? Like, because I was like, this is drinking so good. And I'm like, oh, 4.6. Yes, I could drink a whole lot of this.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the look on my face, but I've been sitting here for the last like 5 minutes, like smelling it and taking in little sips and then looking inquisitively. It's a really nice balance. It's got a nice bitterness to it.
Yeah.
Which, man, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
From the bottom of my heart, that there's some bitterness in a kind of a cloudy, hazy, hop forward beer. But I mean, I'm getting like lychee. I'm getting like some tropical fruit flavors, but it's not betraying. Like, there's still citrus in there. There's still pine resin. Like, it has. I mean, I know this is overused, but kind of the best of both worlds. It has some of those kind of more modern tropical influences while still staying true to what an IPA or a pale ale is supposed to be, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that that's one of the best ways to go about making these beers these days. I have a good friend that was working at a brew pub in Tampa for a while, and he used to make his hazy IPA with Chinook, and it was fucking awesome. So it's like you can still incorporate all those things. But yeah, so that beer is a collab with the drummer of Mastodon, Bron Daler. He's a friend of the brewery. He lives he lives like 2 miles away from the spot. The brewery I work at now, we have a sister restaurant in East Atlanta Village called Argosy, and they've been around for a little over 13 years now, and like are known as a good craft beer bar and restaurant. So the owners have like known the dudes in Mastodon for a really long time. Braun specifically is very, very into beer. So they actually made this beer before I ever worked there when they released the record in 2021. But when I got the job at Scepter and started working here and like knew he was friends with the spot, I met up with him and I was like, hey, do you want to make the beer again? And he's like, yeah, I kind of want to like have it as much as possible. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna make it a little bit differently than they did in 2021 because I just have a different brewing style than the brewer before me. And he was like, that's totally fine, like whatever you want to do. And talking about like just like doing collabs and having people come through, it was awesome because like he worked with me like the whole day. He's so into it, like he wanted to know about everything that was going on. He did basically all grain out for me, which is my least favorite part. And I was like, yeah, I was like, you don't have to do this, because I know I'll do it. I'm like, all right, cool, hell yeah. It was there. I even had him come in and fucking dry hop the thing a week later. It's like I told him I was dry hopping it, and he's like, "Oh, can I come do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll." You want to get up on the ladder and dump hops in the fermenter? Sure, I'm cool with that. But talking about balance and stuff too, my big philosophy in brewing is balance, no matter what style you're doing, right? There's balance to be found in everything, and I think overall balance makes everything more drinkable, easier to drink.
Yeah, I would say one of the reasons this is one of my favorite hazies is that it's not too sweet.
That exactly.
Like
It's
drinks
very dry, actually.
It drinks a lot more like a West Coast, even though it's still a hazy. So it still has the fruity, it still has the juicy, it still has all
It has
the things.
that more mouthfeel of a hazy. Like it's a little more of a fuller mouthfeel, but it has that dryness.
Yeah, even though it's
of a
dry.
West
Yeah,
Coast.
that's really impressive that it have not that residual sugar, but still have body.
Yeah, I mean, it finished at 1.5 Plato, so it's dry as shit.
Yeah, that's super dry. Yeah.
It's it's Voskavike, which I think helps. I think really helps with all the citrus stuff in there.
Yeah.
It's dry hop pretty massively with Amarillo, Citra, and Cryostrata.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
and that one.
That's a good group.
Yeah, those are like my 3 favorite hops right now, so that all worked out for me. Also, I throw like a shit ton of Cascade in the Whirlpool.
Nice.
Because I had it.
I was gonna say it has a more kind of West Coasty thing there, and I think it's probably that Cascade hop type of thing.
Yeah. And we mostly use craft malt at my spot too.
Nice.
I saw that logo on these cans. That's a local maltster.
They're in North Carolina, but they're about 5 hours away from where we are. I mean, I will literally place an order on Monday, and if I place it early enough, like I get the pallet the next day. Like which is tight. I love it, and like I get similar pricing that I would for like base Vireman malt, and I'm not saying it's better, but it's very, very good. And like if you want to like get in all the nuances about actual terroir in beer, I think the Southeast actually has a pretty good case as far as like malts concerns. We have a couple really good craft maltsters in this area. Carolina Malt House is who I specifically use. And I use their Pilsner malt as my base malt in every single beer that I make. And I have no consistency issues. It has great die stack power. I was actually getting, my efficiency was actually way up these last 2 months, to the point where it was like almost concerning. But I was also kind of like, oh wait, that must be a good thing actually. So
yeah, I was gonna say, were you putting too many bags in there? Frankly, could you have cut a bag or two?
That's what I thought. But I mean, my my system, I have a larger brew house than I have cellar. So the brew house is really like a 10 barrel brew house, but my cellar are 7s and 15s.
Oh, nice.
And that's because the person who designed it thought they were just going to be making giant imperial stouts all the time.
Honestly, that would be the way that I would do. Is I would always oversize it because it's easier to add a tank than it is to upgrade your brew house.
Correct.
That is true. Yeah.
It's not a bad idea. The only downside is it's hard to do low gravity wort in it because if your mash tun's too big, right, you you have to put a minimum amount of malt in there, no matter what you do, right?
Yeah.
I have to put at least 250 pounds in my mash tun, or else it can't water for shit. So, and that nets me right now, if I'm pre-collecting 9 barrels in my kettle, that's about a 10.5 plate of wort, which is a lot. And I would like it to be lower, but I can't do a 300-pound grist and go lower than that, because then my 7-hour day turns into a 10-hour day.
That'd be awesome to have like 115 though, so you could actually do a high gravity brew. And
I've 415s, so
okay.
I've got 415s and 47s in my cellar, so I can kind of do whatever. Actually, that table saison that I gave y'all was an experiment in maxing out the brew house, so I can like pre-boil can fill up to like 12 barrels in my kettle, and that's what I did for that beer to get a 7 Plato wort, I would say. Which I didn't like. Yeah, I just had straight up no idea how to do that. But then just put it into a 15 barrel fermenter, and it's Breton saison yeast, so all that extra headspace is just gonna do good stuff.
I want to go back for a second and talk about Mastodon. I don't think we gave enough attention to the fact that
kind of glossed over that, right?
Yeah.
They're a big fucking deal.
They're a huge fucking deal. Like we kind of all just like, oh no, that's cool. You did a beer with Mastodon, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I mean they just played here in Atlanta last week at a 7. Well, the venue cap was way bigger, but it was an amphitheater, but there were 7,000 people there. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, like the fact that there are now metal bands that are doing stadium shows. I mean, fucking what's that? Gojira like played the fucking
the
Olympic opening ceremonies.
Their last tour they went on was co-headlining with Mastodon.
Yeah, like metal bands like that have become more mainstream and do big numbers now, and Mastodon is like probably in the top 3 of those types of bands.
Yeah.
And
I think what they do
it's a big deal to have like Mastodon's name on your product and like fully endorsed by them.
Yeah. I mean, there's someone for me, not in the Southeast that knows very, because they bring their metal with a Southern kind of style to it. Like they're bringing more people in. It's not just metal. It reminds me a lot of like Led Zeppelin, where they were actually bringing in multiple styles and multiple people to the same table.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a twang to them that is very Southern in influence.
But what they're doing is really a big deal. So yeah, like Mike said, it's not like I did a beer with a guy who used to be in Power Mad, which is a big metal band, but they're not a big metal band that everyone knows. Mastodon is a metal band that everyone knows.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that's kind of a big deal. Like you had to have been geeked as shit to do that.
Oh yeah, no, it was crazy. I mean, like I've gotten to know Braun a lot better over the last year. He's a cool guy. He just likes drinking beer and he likes supporting local businesses. It's like, oh, that's what I like to do too.
Yeah. I mean, he's a founding member, right? Like he's like
they're all original. All 4 of those dudes are they've all been in the band since its inception. So, which is a very impressive thing. Yeah, dude, it was super fucking cool to see them play in front of 7,000 people. But even cooler, slightly little humble brag on this, they played a show a week before at a tiny dive bar in Atlanta to like 150 people, and I got to go, which was fucking sick.
Was it just one of those spur of the moment type of things, or
they
didn't even announce it?
They'd been planning on doing it, but they didn't say they were doing it until like 2 weeks before the show happened. But it wasn't necessarily like an invite only thing either. They had the bill under a different name.
Oh, okay.
And it was just kind of, you had to, it was only $20 to get in, which is also really cool. But I mean, yeah, once the drummer posted on his Instagram, he didn't say that he was like, is anyone going to this show, and put the flyer up, and then the fake band name was Big Hairy Elephant. So it wasn't too much to discern what was going on.
Which would be a great Mastodon cover band name.
Yeah, and that was what they were joking about the whole time. The bassist and main vocalist Troy, he was just like, Oh, I asked the guys in Mastodon to help me do my favorite my dream band with me, and just like silly shit like that. But it was fun as hell though, and they played the same set that they're playing on this tour. They're doing Lamb of God right now, so it was insane to see it in a very very tiny setting, and then see it on a huge stage with all the production and everything. And like they spend a lot of money on their production too. Like that's
Oh yeah.
that's a big thing. That was the thing was like hanging out with Braun while we're making this beer. He told me a story about how the vocalist of Iron Maiden told him that he needs to spend more money on his live production stuff. That's like,
and you got him to grain out, which
yeah,
which by the way, that's everyone's least favorite part of the job.
no.
Not me.
It's my favorite
my
thing about
favorite
collab
part.
days is when people come in and they're like, "Oh, we have to do something, right?" I'm like, "Yep, you sure do."
oh God, that's my favorite part of collab days. Literally, is
Mhm.
finally I am not going to grain out.
That's why I try and do more. And even when I'm at someone else's spot and I'm doing the collab, I do it, but it's not that hard.
I take a phone call when it's time to grain
Oh
out.
guys, I gotta step
Yeah,
out for
there's no
2 to
actually. It
3
sounds like
hours.
it sounds like there's an issue with the fermenters back at the brewery. I gotta hold on. I'll be back and then I'll help you grain out. Oh, you got it done already. Oh,
Oh,
I
sorry.
hate
Could
to
I get a
be-
refill?
I hate to be immensely
Yeah, exactly.
unprofessional right now. I have to go use the restroom. I'll be right back.
So unprofessional.
I know it's not the worst.
Just keep the headphones
take it-
on.
take-
So it's
Oh,
weird.
wait a minute. Wait, so now we have to talk to each other?
You do, yeah, just a little bit.
Oh God, this is the worst.
Is he
Oh.
like just keep the headphones on? I think it would be great if there was just like a sound of peeing in the background for a while.
I can cut this out in post.
Well, you can, but
No,
you don't
please
need to.
don't.
Yeah,
No,
I was gonna
you-
say this.
no,
This is
Well, what I should have finished saying there is I could cut this out in post, but that wouldn't be very United We Drink of
No.
me.
Our people
Well-
demand authenticity.
also
They demand
it
boredom.
would-
They
it would-
demand repetitiveness. These are the things that we have staked our claim on, so we have to follow through.
also it would require
you, our
you to-
listener, are very demanding.
Yeah, it would require you to have enough energy and effort to spend time to find this in the in the line. So you haven't written down what mark this is to even find it to cut it out.
It would be easy to just find the part where he's not talking for a long period of time because they're all individual channels. So I could do it. I'm also showing how the sausage is made. Pun intended. I don't know. But this is a fucking good beer. This is
It's a great beer.
like really one of the best hazies I've ever had.
Well, like I said, it's because it drinks like a hazy, but doesn't drink like a hazy. You know what I mean? Like you said, it's got the mouthfeel and it's got the juiciness, but it's got the dryness and the bitterness that it's what I would prefer. Like the hazies, as I always try to make, are more like hoppy wheats rather than like juice bombs, and this drinks a lot like that, which I think is
in some ways it's just a little more grown up. I mean, that's the way that the beers, when Ralph makes something in that vein at the brewery, my favorite ones are, it's like, okay, we started doing this style because basically people love the term IPA, but they hate drinking them.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so they want a fruit beer, but they don't want to have to order at a bar. So we're going to make these hazy IPAs, and then they can start marrying some of the things that make IPAs great with some of the more interesting aspects of these new beers. And they're a little more grown up. They're a little more sophisticated. And when I have one of these, I go, oh, this style I'm very similar. When I first saw these beers, I said, why are we doing this? Why are we satisfied with something that doesn't look like I would be embarrassed to put out? And now we're getting to a point where it's like, okay, there's some good aspects of it. Let's actually take this with talented brewers like Spencer, and let's make this good. Let's kind of own this and actually like be proud of putting this out, not just duping a bunch of morons that walk into the bar going, "You got the latest hazy IPA?"
Yeah, Spencer. The thing I really appreciate that it's got the haze of a Hefeweizen, not the haze of a hazy IPA.
Yeah, I would even say that looks like a wit beer. Like how
Like I said,
pale it is. Like
it
if you would
remind-
have just been like, "Hey, here's an Allagash White" from a distance, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, that kind of looks like that."
And like I said, it reminds me of my favorite hoppy wheat that I should have called hazy IPA, but I was a stubborn, grumpy old man that
The
said,
marketing,
"No,
the marketing
I'm
side of
making a
things is
I'm making a
like,
hoppy wit," and everyone said, "Tim, you're dumb. No one likes wheat beers anymore. This isn't 2012." And I was like, "Yeah, but this is what it is. It's a hoppy wheat." And hazies hadn't necessarily exploded, but I'm like, God damn. I saw a picture of it on my phone the other day, and I was like, fuck, I should have just called that a hazy IPA. But it had like kind of
Yeah.
that similar thing where it's like it's a little bit drier, it's a little bit more bitter, but it's still super juicy. It's actually pretty to look at, like a wheat beer would be.
Yeah.
You know, Civil Society down here. One of my favorite beers by them is a beer called Pulp, which
Yeah.
they have called since
Pulp's
the very
fucking great, man. Yeah.
since
It's
the
a good
very
beer.
beginning. They've called it a hoppy wheat beer, and
Yep.
it's just like this is you. Come on, this is one of your IPA. You guys are an IPA brewery, like. And I just bought a 4-pack a week or so ago, and I'm like, still calls it that. They now have digitally printed cans, and they're
Oh,
still
that's so
calling
cool.
it that. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay.
those guys always kind of just like knew what they were doing and wanted to just go into it and never compromise on that, which I extremely appreciate about them too. Yeah, fun little lore thing. When I was still at Grasslands, we actually poured at their first anniversary, which was very cool. Like the amount of people they got out for it, and like there obviously isn't anything else going on in
Wait,
Jupiter,
were you at
Florida.
that?
That very first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
Okay, because I was there working for the brewery that we shall not name
Oh,
for that
dude,
one. So maybe
we probably talked then because
okay.
yeah, because I definitely would have stopped by y'all's tent and said something.
Yeah, it was.
At that point,
I don't think Joel was working with. I think it was our
he wasn't.
sales rep
Yeah,
or not our sales rep, our marketing guy and me. But it was.
Spencer, was that one thing you would have stopped by and say, fuck you? I definitely would have come by and said, fuck you.
to Joel probably, but he probably would have appreciated that. So,
Well, he would have deserved it. Yeah.
exactly.
So-
But the main thing I remember about that festival though was like we were just pouring there and we were set up next to Cigar City and they brought a half barrel of Hunapu with them for some reason. So I just got completely blitzed drinking whatever version of Hunapu they decided to bring to a festival with them at that. And it was like their sales reps too. Like there wasn't anyone from the brewery or anything, but I just thought it was funny that they brought a very limited edition beer to a festival like that.
Well, and in a half barrel?
Yeah.
Jeez, that's ambitious.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, sometimes you got to move inventory, right?
Yeah. Well, like we've talked on this podcast about how the changing in festivals means that like you could get away with 3 half barrels at a festival now, and like I always envied the breweries that would like just be smart and bring like 4 or 6 stills. I'm like, oh, I guess we're done. We gotta close up the shop. All right, see ya.
I bring cans as much as I can now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
If I go to a festival that just like bring whatever format you want, I'm like, all right, we're just bringing cans because fuck setting up a jockey box, doing all that bullshit. It's
just
like
bring
no.
just like sheep bladders full.
I drive a
of beer,
fucking Ford Fiesta. I can't fit shit in my car. Like it's and like especially if like these places. So a thing with Atlanta is you're either ITP or OTP, which means inside the perimeter or outside the perimeter. There's a giant interstate that kind of surrounds Atlanta, and the metro area is still part of it. Going outside the perimeter for me is a nightmare. It's where all the suburbs are. It's where all the bad shit I don't like about Georgia is. It's where actually all the traffic is. People are always like, "Oh, Atlanta traffic's so fucking bad." And it's like, yeah, go to a suburb in Atlanta and you will want to die just from sitting in traffic for as long as you are. At least in Atlanta, it moves and everyone knows where they're going and trying to do something. But yeah, a lot of these festivals though happen outside the perimeter and I have to go to them and I'm sure I've met a couple people I'm out at these things and I'm just fucking mad and they're like, well, never gonna go to that brewery ever.
I always wanted to take like a giant cauldron of beer with a giant ladle, and that's how I just served the beer at everything.
Oh man, yeah, we got to get lambic back going, right?
Yeah, wouldn't that be great? And just scoop giant ladles.
I would prefer that too. Just show up with
Great
your
gimmick.
cauldron and then hang out for a while and then leave
That
mysteriously.
sounds
God.
like something very much to do for the metal and beer festival that they do in Philly every year.
Oh
That
yeah,
would be
Like,
perfect.
and like if Mastodon is playing it one year, like you guys be there and you have a cauldron of their pale ale to put into horns.
Yeah, you hold a black mass and you just ladle in. Yeah,
Can you throw
absolutely.
dry ice in it? Is that can people actually do that? Is
you're
that
talking what I want to do on
consumable?
like a normal Tuesday. So yeah, I'm definitely into that.
Yeah, that would be fucking rad. I really like this idea. Yeah, no, if we've got anything from this podcast, it should be that we should just find like a black death metal way to serve this beer at some beer festival.
Yeah, always.
Grab your ladle. That's the motto.
I mean,
Grab your ladle.
BYOL, bring your own ladle to this
philosophy in
beer
marketing is
festival.
as far as what breweries are doing. Like my favorite brewery in the country right now is True.
Yeah, yeah.
Based in Denver, and they just opened up an Asheville location that I got to go to pretty recently, and it's
Nice.
like that place is
Whose
fucking
did
awesome.
they take over?
Eurisco.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah,
it's
I'm going to
super.
Asheville next week, so
Oh well, yeah. Hit me up. I got Rex for you for sure. It's Asheville's only 3 hours from here, so my wife and I try to go at least once a year to just have. We found this like great Airbnb in West Asheville that we go to, and we just go to all the breweries and drink. Might actually also be doing a big MBAA conference at Sierra Nevada soon, which would be very cool. But I digress. No, True is just like one of those places that they're doing a thing that is like not, and I think this is what craft beer should kind of pivot into at this point. Is they're doing something that's not mainstream, right? I think craft beer in the future has a positive growth niche in counterculture stuff, right? And obviously like metal is a very big counterculture thing. But True has done such a good job of just like diving into that head first, doing whatever the fuck they want to do. But on top of that, having an insanely high quality component on top of it, right?
Yeah, and their brewery in Denver is fucking tiny.
Yeah.
well, they
Like-
have a
Well-
production facility
Well,
on
yeah.
site from
well,
their
they
tap room.
do now, but when they made their name for themselves,
Like
Yeah,
a 3-barrel
they-
system. Yeah.
when they made their first beers, when they really built out their first beers, because I went there like shortly after it opened. I had a friend that had moved out to Denver, and we went out to go see him. And it literally was like, holy shit, you're doing this on this. And then yes, they've grown considerably, but the reason they grew considerably is they were making good beer on a shit system
Mhm.
in a tiny painted black for a
Room.
yeah.
I mean that
Yeah.
tap room still is very funny when you walk into it because
Oh,
it's just
God.
this long room has
Yeah.
a couple long tables and
It's a
painted black and-
corridor.
yeah, it's exactly. But it's also it's like my favorite tap room I've ever been in before. you know?
It's so funny because I like to do like Banded Oak and Bear and True, and you get 3 very different experiences. Because like Banded Oak,
Yeah, all in a few blocks.
yeah, because
Mhm.
like Banded Oak is like basically an old garage, right? And they make great Kolsch. And then you go to Bear, and it's this strip mall location that does like kind of a unique barrel aging program. And then you go to True, which is across the street and down the strip mall, but now you back more feel like you're in an urban environment.
Yeah.
And then you walk in and you're like, oh, I'm not a believer, but I think I'm going to hell for being in here. Like that whole experience just within like not even like a mile to get those 3 different experiences is why I love Denver so much. But it's
Yeah.
also what makes like True stand out so well.
Yeah, but I mean, on top of all of it, like I'm such a mark for their marketing and their branding. Like that's easy for me. But as a beer drinker, like they're incredible at what they do. They're super prolific in the styles they do, and everything they do really well. I can't really think of many breweries off the top of my head right now that that are doing such wide range stuff as they are and doing all of it excellent, but that's
Holy
the thing.
mountain.
It's like I going back to quality stuff. It's like I think if you as long as like quality is like your main keystone in all of it, you can kind of do whatever you want to on top of it. As long as you do those other things high quality as well. It's like your marketing can't be it can't be lazy. Your branding can't be lazy on it could be whatever. It's like you could be the fucking jam band brewery, right? But which I hate. I wouldn't want to go there if I knew that. But if their beer was really good, I'd probably pop in and then see all these people that like jam bands that are like, oh cool, they must be doing something right.
Yeah, well, so True reminds me of what Surly was back in 2012.
hmm
Yeah.
So head brewer Todd was member of a metal band. They're making Pentagram, one of the best sours on the market. They're making Darkness, one of the best barrel-aged imperial stouts on the market. They're making Surly Furious, which is they didn't even call it an IPA because it's pretty fucking malty. It's like got like 5 different malts and 5 different hops. But like
Nice.
they had that whole metal aesthetic, obviously, because of all of that. Todd left. They bought into themselves too much.
And and
I
like
know the head brewer there now, but it's just like it's like I hope True as they grow still keeps more of the kind of DIY metal aesthetic and not just the hey, we're making good beer, but we're growing, so we have to be more accessible. And I think maybe that was the trip that Shirley fell into.
Yeah, and I mean, like, even at my place, like the thing that I love about where I work is they the owner's like big thing is that I can be expressive and creative in my own way, right? Like I don't make insane weird beers all the time. Like I prefer making traditional stuff, But I think you can find creativity in all of that. But a lot of the I get to name some of the beers for better for worse, and it is a creative expression on there, but it's also not. We don't really have cohesive branding where I'm at either, which is a gift and a curse, I think. But we're also a small pub brewery too, so it's like we only really
Yeah.
need to
I think that
endear.
that's fine when you're that size.
Right. Yeah. No. If
Yeah,
we
yeah.
were if we were regional, absolutely not. It's like you have to have some kind of mass appeal over everything. Like yeah, True would never work as a regional brewery. That's why they opened a smaller tap room, smaller brewery in another market that would accept them really well. Right.
Yeah.
It's like, but
Well,
they can't.
yeah, no, yeah, that market that has everything from like Cellarist to Oscar. Like, by the way, Mike, if you don't go to Cellarist, I will disown you.
I've never even heard of him.
Yeah, you gotta go Cellarist.
Oh, you have to go to
Okay.
Cellarist.
I'm gonna pull up my Google map.
They have the most adorable horizontal copper tanks for lagers. They do one of the best slow pours you'll ever have in your entire life.
Oh,
Their barrel
sweet.
aging program is also totally out of this world.
It
Yeah.
is so cute. It's so tiny. Like I want to kiss Cellarist on the forehead and stick it in my pocket. I want to ask that out to junior prom. I think they are that adorable. But they're so amazing. The beer is so good. You need to do that. But you take something like Asheville, and technically that's what is that? It's like it's not even technically Asheville. It's like anyway.
It's Asheville according to their address.
yeah, it's like north of it, I think. It's like
Yeah.
like Zillicoa is in Woodfin, but
But
it's in
yeah.
Asheville.
But anyway. And it's in just like the quirkiest neighborhood. Like if you wanted to like teach your bird how to ride a bicycle, you could do that in that neighborhood. Like
That's what I was hoping to do.
yeah,
So
no,
I'm glad.
I think you need to do that. But no, I really appreciate I'm like so Spencer, you name a beer death metal font.
hmm
You do get a lot of kind of freedom to play.
Yeah.
Do you so as Kevin said that's part of the benefit of being a brew pub, but also do you think there's just a benefit to just kind of still being a not fully realized mature market, whatever, that you're still able to kind of explore stuff like that?
Yeah, I don't even think it's necessarily the market here, just because I do very little distro. My distro is like very curated, goes to specific accounts that I know give a fuck about it, and I definitely that was one of the first beers I made when I took over there, and I named it that because I always want to name a beer that, and the owners didn't say no, and he even made a fucking label for it and everything. So, um, but it's been one of our best selling beers since I put it on. And I think that speaks more to the quality of it rather than the branding of it. But I, my big thing is just like, why not just try it out at least? And like we're at that level where we can just do that too. If there's no reception to it and it's bad, like I don't have the kind of ego where I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna keep making it. It's like if it was bad beer or it didn't do well in the tap room, I wouldn't have made it again. I would have moved on to something else that would have worked better for a clientele in our tap room. But it's always in the top 3 in our product mix, no matter what. And it does well in the market too.
What if you think it is a good beer, but maybe the branding is wrong? So that's a question I've always had, right? I've got a marketing guy on here, I've got an owner, I've got a brewer. I always struggled between marketing and myself about what I wanted to call a beer. A lot of my names got neutered, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're given the freedom to do that. Is anyone giving you feedback like, man, this beer fucking kicks ass? Because sometimes, like, literally, it's the difference between calling a beer a hoppy wheat or a hazy IPA.
Right.
You give a list of beers a hoppy wheat, and no one buys it. You change the name and call it a hazy IPA, and nothing about the recipe has changed, and it sells like gangbusters. So, like, what is that balance like?
So there's 2 guys that own my spot, and they're split between the brewery and the other restaurant that they own, right? And like one of the guys is at the restaurant, other guys at the brewery. The guy at the brewery, he kind of just lets me do whatever, and the guy at the restaurant, he's not as involved, but he's a little bit more inquisitive about like whenever I do those things, right? I have a Mexican lager that I think I sent y'all called The Silence of Apocalypse, which like what the fuck does that mean? It was something I had written down on my phone that I thought of when I was drunk and I needed to name a beer. And so we just did that. And it stuck, but it was funny because like we'd had it on tap for like a few weeks and then the other owner like came in and he's like, "Why is this beer named this?" And I'm like, I told him what I told y'all. I was like, "Oh, it was just written down on my phone. We're just trying it. It's he doesn't like the name, which is fine. Like it was kind of a last minute thing. I don't know what to do with it, but it is our number 1 seller in the tap room right now too. So it's I so to answer your question, I don't really know. It's all kind of all over the place. I don't, and like our main clientele in the brew pub is like we're smack dab in a neighborhood in Decatur. It's mostly families. Like young families too. Like most people that bring their kids in, like their kids are like 2-3 years old.
Oh, so it's perfect for me.
Yeah,
oh yeah, exactly.
No, I was gonna say it's perfect for death metal themes. Yeah,
Right. Well, and so that's the thing though. It's like as much as I love metal and I love putting it, I love having it influence like my crafts and everything. I don't play death metal in the brewery until after 9:00 if I'm there, right? Because I don't want to actually scare away everyone going through there. I understand that just because I like it, that doesn't mean that everyone else is going to love it too. So I think
I play life metal.
Yeah, exactly. well, I mean, if people are walking in and they complain about Iron Maiden, like they should probably not be there in the first place. It's. But even then, like we're not always playing stuff like that.
I know, but you talk about True. They don't apologize for who they are.
No, they don't. Yeah, and that's just kind of.
They don't. But like one, I'm sorry to cut into all this, but like one brewery who fits a lot of this to me is Holy Mountain in Seattle.
Yeah.
Like they are very dark with a lot of their branding and imagery. They're also uber tied into Twin Peaks and David Lynch, which just makes me so happy. And they do such a wide range of beers as well. They do English pub style beers. They do milds. They do bitters. They do a wit beer year round. Tons of barrel aging and mixed culture. But they don't. At least the one time that I've been there, like they're not playing metal during the middle of the day.
Yeah,
they read a crowd and they understand what people are like. But there is something to be said about True sticking to their guns on like, yeah, I went in there on a Sunday afternoon before and it was fucking metal, like going hard in there. And I'm like, but like, I did see a couple old people in there hanging out, having a beer. And I'm like, all right.
Part of the difference is I think that they're in a market where they have to stick out. Like it would be
that's
it
true.
would like it would be hard like because there was a brewery here that did a lot of smoked beers and had like a Norwegian metal. And they just didn't do as well because you couldn't be as niche at the time. And I think when you're in a place where you can be.
Unfortunately, no one still cares about smoked beers.
Oh yeah, I know. So Kevin, we keep on stepping over you constantly, which is because we kind of don't want you to talk. But mostly, I actually wanted you to also answer the same question I asked Spencer. Like, when do you know the difference between a beer not selling because of the beer, or when do you know the difference between a beer not selling because of the branding?
From my experience so far, I look at beer names and branding as being, at least in my size of brewery, way overrated. I think we overthink everything when it comes to the branding, and it comes down to something very simple. I don't think anyone sees it. I especially like our taproom beers. The only people that see it are the people that walk in your doors. I mean, we put this stuff out in our social media following, and we got 15,000 people, and 4 saw your post. I mean, it's. I think we kind of get our heads up our own asses about how important these names are, and we certainly have these conversations all the time. I talked about a beer. We were talking about hazy IPAs earlier in the podcast. We did a New Zealand style hazy called Verdant Embrace. I think one of the best beers we've ever done. I think this beer was absolutely incredible.
Agreed.
And one of my partners hates the name. Verdant Embrace. What does it mean?
What does it
Or
mean?
how do you
Yeah.
pronounce it? And I'm like, well, it's like embracing green. He's like, well, shouldn't it be embrace verdant? Wouldn't that make it's I get these notes in these emails and I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're going to sell it. Now, if it's going to go out in mass production, yes, you have to be a little bit more thoughtful. I do think that things should be pronounceable.
Mhm.
I think that you should have words that look like you can say them. But I think Mike and I just had a conversation the other day. We met up for lunch and we were talking about beer names. And I think more and more the most important thing is that you have something that relates in some way to your local market, some way to your clientele that actually resonates with them, and to everybody else, it just kind of sounds cool. It just kind of is okay for them. And if the beer's good, you've married the two things together. How do you know which one is which one's leading the pack? Is the beer bad or the name bad? If you think that somehow your beer is bad, I think you already are probably behind the 8 ball and you're kind of fucked because, you could put out a beer that might not work for your market. That's one thing. But if you're looking at your brand and go, oh, well, this beer is just not kind of good, we should have figured that out way before we gave it a name and put it out on our taps.
So Spencer, following up on that, then you get a lot of leeway, right?
Mhm.
But you still don't necessarily own the brand identity for the concepts that you're making beer for.
I mean, like, kind of. It's my bosses just want me to do what I want to do because they know it's gonna make me happy, which is like, holy shit, what a fucking concept. It's this. It's yeah. I know that the things that I'm into are not necessarily going to endear to everyone else, but I do think when you're talking about like your art specifically, you need to make your imprint on it, right? And that will endear itself to love, especially if you can communicate that correctly, right? It's like most people coming into the tap room, I tell my bartenders like why I name the things that I name them sometimes because a lot of people come in and ask about it. And it's like, why the fuck did he call this death metal font? And I'm like, but my bartenders know to tell our customers, it's like, yeah, they call it that because he thought it was funny. Not just that, obviously, but that's like the main gist of it. It's like I do think it's funny because like the logo on the can is like slightly unintelligible, but then right there in really easy to read print, it just says death metal font, which I always thought was fucking funny. And yeah, a lot of people just might not
it's
get
like when
that,
you're
but
watching a movie where there's subtitles for someone speaking English.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So it,
There-
it it's I they the guys I work for, they give me a ton of autonomy and creative freedom for what I do, which is incredible. I've never had this. I've been brewing pro for almost 10 years now, and this is the first time I've been given this. I'm naming and making beers as if I owned the place, right? Um, which is something I thought a couple of years ago I wanted to try and start my own brewery and have my own concept and everything, and then I decided I didn't want to do that. Um, and this job really just kind of fell into my lap. Like I was actually about to leave the industry, get a job as like a data analyst for a fucking tech company somewhere because I was sick of it. I was having a bad time.
Yeah,
Um,
I want to get a little bit more into that. Like we haven't talked about
Sure. Yeah, so let me kind of like roll back a little bit on just like how my career's progressed and everything. So was telling y'all about Eventide and kind of the horror stories I was having there. I started that job in early 2018, and after about 2 years they finally started to relent and let me kind of like do what I wanted to do. But pandemic hits. So what happens then? Um I actually thought my job was secure because I thought I had finally earned their trust and let them know that I was like doing a good job. I even remember posting something on fucking Twitter because we had a little beer engine in there. Would do like these little one-off casts and stuff. And I made an English dark mild, and it was the first time I ever made one. I was really happy how it came out. And we put the cask on for our staff, like right when the pandemic started. So we're still like kind of trying to stay open and everything. And I took a picture of the beer. It was super happy with it, and just remember like feeling okay at that point. This is like March 2020. Literally 2-3 days later, they bring me in and they furlough me. Which like I kind of got. I was like, all right, yeah, I know what's going on. Um, sure. I don't hear anything from them for about 4 weeks, and then yeah, we're late April 2020. They call me in just to lay me off. And like I was like, "What? Are you fucking serious?" It was only one of the owners that did it too, who I always had a kind of tenuous relationship with anyway, but the other owner I had a good relationship with. And as I'm walking out the building after they lay me off, I see this guy get out of his truck with his newborn son, make eye contact with me. He gets straight back into his truck. It's just like, what the fuck did I do for you? Like, I absolutely made their business better and improved a lot, and they're only paying me like $38,000 a year to be their fucking head brewer too. It's like it's pretty fucking criminal in Atlanta too. You know, it's not cool. So yeah, they just kind of ditch me because and they also lied to me because they told me the two owners who were there full time, they were taking a salary, and they told me they were going to forego their salaries in order to keep people on. And they let it slip when they told me that when they furloughed me, and they let it slip when they fired me, saying they were going to maybe have to do the same thing. So I was like, oh, so you didn't even try that before you got rid of me, which is, and you know, in hindsight, they probably wanted to get rid of me, and it was because we butted heads sometimes because I thought they had bad ideas, and they didn't like me telling them that. So whatever. At the time though, that wasn't good. That felt bad. My wife was actually bartending at the brewery when that happened too, and she still had a couple shifts going, and they tried to like act like it was normal, and she quit pretty. I told her to stay on as long as possible. Like I didn't have a problem with her being there, but she quit just out of support for me. Also because like they were not doing a good job of making their employees feel safe in the early throes of the pandemic. So all
Yeah.
that happens. I can't get a job. 6 months, pretty much. Interviewed with a couple. I got denied from a job because they said I was overexperienced. I went 3 rounds of interviews at a job for them to just tell me they weren't hiring. Went through another interview, and they just ghosted me afterwards after I got positive feedback from the interview. So we had to move back to Florida because of this, because unemployment dries up. We don't have savings or anything.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we gonna do? So we actually moved back in with my mom, who lives in Fort Lauderdale, and I am like Honestly, lowest point I've ever been in my entire life, because I don't know what to do. Like, no one wants to hire me, even though I have good experience. I don't think I'm a bad person. I'd always had mental health issues too, and this was just compounding it to the nth degree. And like, I straight up did not know how I was going to move on to the next phase of my life.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think one thing that we have not, so we've covered on this podcast pay, and we've talked about mental health, and I don't think we've ever closed the gap on how both of those compound each other.
yeah, yeah, and and like, I'm from like an okay well-to-do family. Not we actually, I had to pay myself through college because 09 recession really hit my family really hard specifically, So I've been like financially independent for a while, and it felt good to be able to kind of break free of all that. But then, yeah, having to move back in with your mom after all that, but it's great that I was able to do that, and like, I have a wonderful relationship with my mother, and like, it wasn't like a big deal really, but like, I personally was like, this is the worst thing that could possibly happen to me right now.
It's a
It
huge
felt,
ego
yeah.
dip.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, and that's really what it was. And yeah, there was like, I remember there was a couple of days during all that where I just didn't get out of bed at all. Like, I don't do that. I usually have to get up and go do something, or else I feel crazy. But like, didn't get out of bed for like 4 straight days one time because I was so fucking depressed about where I was in my life. And it was even like, every day I'd like get up and look at job postings in the brewing industry too, and I was just like, I don't even know what the fuck to do right now. Like, if I go here, am I going to be happier? Probably not. And it was just that was just compounding itself over and over and over again. And I finally got out of that, luckily, with a lot of support from my wife, especially. Like, and she was going through it too. Like, she was having an equally rough time, but I was just like totally despondent at one point, and she like really pulled me out, and I'm super grateful to her for that. Um,
Yeah, I think one of the things, so you talk about like not being able to get out of bed. I think one of the cool things that's happened over the last 5 to 10 years is that we have worked to destigmatize people who say they're depressed.
yeah,
I think one of the shittiest things that we have done over the past 5 to 10 years is that we still judge people for the way their depression presents itself.
yeah, absolutely. No, and yeah, you have to. That period of my life was also really learning how to give people grace too,
Yeah,
and like giving myself grace as well. I think that was probably first and
that's the
foremost the
hardest thing to do.
right. Yeah, it was. Yeah, how do you validate yourself? Like, especially, I was very critical of myself too, which is why I felt so bad. I was just
You
like,
hate
why?
yourself for not being able to get out of bed. You feel like a piece of shit for not doing it, but it's not. You're literally destabilized, but you have to like give yourself the much grace that you say, hey, if I recognize what mental health is, I can give someone else grace.
Yeah,
But I don't deserve that grace. Like, that's like, you start to internalize that shit, and
right.
it becomes
I
like
I, I
compounding.
was actually I was talking with a friend about this earlier today. I have a big problem with feeling like a burden on other people,
Mhm.
and that causes me to, when I'm not feeling great about myself or about anything going on, to internalize it, and which is obviously not the best thing. I will say I've gotten like pretty good at doing that, which isn't the healthiest thing in the world, but like, I also know how to kind of like move on from things too, and like, I'm not a very emotionally outward person either. It's like, I like to brood and stew like in my dark corner in the house, like that stuff like actually does make me feel better sometimes. But
That sounds pretty metal.
right, yeah, no, black metal on the headphones. Don't talk to me. I'm just gonna look off in a corner for a while and like drink a beer. The one thing I didn't do during all that was dive into alcohol, despite the industry that I work in.
Good for you.
And that was a very, very, I knew that it would have been very easy to do that too. My
Yeah,
drinking
because
consumption.
I've done it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and like, I've seen people do it too. I think that's the thing. It's like, I've had the benefit of, it sucks like kind of looking at like all the other shit that a lot of other people have gone through, and I know like how quickly it can get bad, especially with substance abuse and all that. So I've never I've never really had that happen to me. The temptation's been there for sure, but I've been able to stave it off. And luckily, I'm at a much better spot now. I mean, and that was the big thing was I had what a lot of other people didn't have, which was just an insanely good support group. You know, like as much as I hated living with my mother during that time, my mother was still there, and like I said, we have a great relationship. So like, you know, she did a great job of giving me space when I needed it, but then, you know, talking to me whenever I needed it too. And my wife's done the same thing. So it's, you know, I'm super lucky to have had that kind of support group, and I have really amazing friends too. It's the only thing that sucks with my friend group is we're all scattered all over the country.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like if they were in person, it would have been even better, but they weren't. But you know,
Yeah,
one of the reasons.
I
Go
hate
ahead.
when I text someone and like it takes a while to get back because we're in different time zones.
Yeah,
Like
but also it's like everyone's got
Mike
their own shit
excluded,
going
but yeah,
on. So
yeah,
yeah, it's, you know, and honestly, Discord was actually a big thing that got me through it because I have a big group of friends I went to college with and high school actually, and we all started a Discord group where every single one, and still doing it. It's actually happening right now. Now I look at the clock. Every Wednesday, group people get together and watch anime together on Discord. And we've been doing it since the pandemic started, and it's like a thing that's persisted throughout it. So it's like I do have this community to fall back on,
That's
which has
awesome.
been fucking amazing. And like, and they're such good people. It's like we literally have a channel in our Discord called Problems and Blessings, where you can put in whatever you feel whenever you feel. And there is nothing but unconditional full support for anything that you put in there.
that is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So that makes me think of something, right? So you have this with your friend group, and you've got this awesome kind of judgment-free zone. But I think the overarching theme as you go across the country is that brewers are going through, whether it be for financial reasons, or the pandemic, or like, you know, just the fact that the job is stressful and doesn't pay enough, and like all these other things. What do you think the brewing industry itself could do better when it comes to mental health?
Um, I mean, it'd be great to have a resource that, whether it's through the BA or through the guild or through your state guild, to have something through there. But I mean, the big thing that that all breweries like to talk about, whether or not they do it well or not, is how involved in the community they are, right? And I think that's where it really needs to be, and it has to be, a lot of it has to be internal too. It's, you have to talk to your coworkers, you have to talk to your owners, you have to create a safe space for these people. And and when I say that too, I, safe space isn't necessarily the right word for it. So you need to have like accountability with it too, right? it's
Sure.
it's 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 super easy for, like I said before, for substance abuse to happen in this industry just because of what you're doing, and it's so hospitality adjacent too. So like,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that have coke problems and stuff like that too, and you know, it's really easy to just dissolve into that. But yeah, I think internally you just need to have a good support system, and like, you know, a lot of breweries aren't going to do that kind of shit because a lot of people don't one, don't think it's a real problem, and two, probably not as many people think that, but like, but two, people also, you know, I'm like a non-confrontational person in general, so it's hard for me to even talk about that kind of stuff, especially with coworkers and stuff. It's like, yeah, I don't know what the solution is, but I have found personally, just talking about my feelings has helped in general, no matter who it is. Anyone's willing to listen, right? And like, you know, like make sure that the person is okay with you hearing about these things. 'Cause yeah, trauma dumping is a real fucking thing. And I've been on the other side of that where I was just like, I can't help you right now because I don't want to listen to this. But yeah, it's about fostering your community, like within your small company or group of people that like come in, you know?
Yeah. So I hear you say, you know, you were reticent to say safe space, because safe space feels like here's a place where you can be when you're attacked, right? And this isn't about
Yeah.
being attacked, right? So
Right.
I get where you're coming from that, but at the same time, like, I have never felt more free to be myself than with like Mike and Kevin and Joel. Like, these guys have been allowed me to be me. and they've done so more in the brewing industry than anything else I've had, right? And I think just like you say, it's a state guild or the BA. I don't ever need them to like necessarily actively do anything, but just acknowledge that it is an issue.
Yeah.
So
yeah, which I guess they've never really done before. Yeah, the Georgia Brewers Guild is
Which
absolutely
seems
never
like
talks
the
about
bare
anything like that.
minimum to at least do.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, they don't. So like 2 years ago at the Minnesota Brewers Guild conference, we had this conference about there was this breakout session about conflict between employees and owners, and there was like this like you could like text in a question and all this, and all it was a bunch of owners like texting me like, but my employees do this, but my employees do this, and all it did was like build a bigger wall rather than open up a dialogue.
Yeah,
right?
because individual situations are never going to mirror anything that's going on
Exactly.
on the larger scale, right? Yeah, everyone's experience is different. That's why it really needs to boil down to like what's going on in your company, and are you doing a good job creating a culture in your company where people feel okay to talk about things like that. It's like I I say that I'm not a confrontational person, but like you get a couple drinks in me and like I don't get confrontational, but I talk about my feelings a lot more for sure.
Sure.
It's like I become a lot more unfiltered, but not usually about like not like political things or anything like that. It's just like how I actually feel about this thing. And like, yeah, a lot of people I've worked for do not like whenever they hang out with me when I'm drinking sometimes, because I start to tell them all the things I think they're doing wrong.
But I think that's the problem, is that the brewing industry doesn't have a good feedback loop, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna feel a lot better mentally if you've got a better feedback loop, right? And so I think
I felt really good like commiserating with other brewers who've been in like really similar positions that I've been, and that's really what it's been. But then it becomes echo chamber a little bit, so you don't feel like anything constructive.
I know, but like even if you and I were in like a BA facilitated like brewer support group where we could just talk through these things and bounce ideas off, be huge.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, one of the things that I've always had an issue with in the way that breweries kind of function as a company with their employees is this whole like we're a family thing, and I think that puts a lot of pressure on people sometimes to maybe bite their tongues and
I barely get along with
not be open, because like
I barely get along with my own family.
Yeah, exactly. Like not a lot of people are open with their own families. So and to those who are like fucking good, amazing for you, like that's it's such a tough thing sometimes, and I just think that puts a lot of pressure on people to speak openly, and I know that most breweries don't do it on purpose to curb that type of thing, but I think that it is a subconscious thing that you don't realize. Yeah.
If you're not intentional about it, it doesn't matter whether or not you're doing it or not. If you're not intentional about your actions, you run the risk of running astray.
The intentions are usually pretty good, as like we want to treat everyone the way that we would want to be treated, but at the same time, like sometimes like just complain, like a boss complaining about like we're not making enough money, then starts scaring people, and they're like, oh, if this is my family, then I don't want to be talking to them about like I'm not making enough money on stuff, and like
because
it all rolls downhill.
Intentions can always be good. You can still hurt someone with positive intentions. What really matters at the end of the day is the result of your actions, not the result of your intentions. Right?
Yes.
I can think of a billion times where I intended something, but I just literally had this happen the other day. My ex-wife is getting married tomorrow. I posted on social media that I'm very proud of her. She saw it. She got mad that I posted about it. So I deleted it and I apologized. I wasn't offending, like I wasn't intending to offend her. by saying, "Hey, I'm super proud of her. She's amazing. She found an amazing person. She's a great co-parent. All of that type of stuff." But she was just like, "I just feel like there needs to be a bigger wall between you and I." And it's like, "Okay, cool. Then I will delete it." And that's all I meant. So that was intention. But at the end of the day, what I should have done was listen to what she wanted.
One of the most important principles, I think, just in all of our lives, forget brewing, forget anything, is that we have the option of saying, I think, Mike, you just mentioned this, like treating others as we want to be treated. We should never treat others as we want to be treated. We should treat others as they want to be
They
treated.
want to be treated. Yeah.
And by doing that, you have to ask people how they want to be treated, and that's an uncomfortable thing. And it's really hard when you're a business owner and you have 10, 15, 20, sometimes hundreds of employees to do that, and fostering an environment that is open so that people actually feel like they can talk to you. Whether you can ever give them what they want, they can still talk to you and not feel like they're burdening or that something's out of place. It's one of the things I struggle with the most, is trying to foster that environment, but knowing that the individuals that are in that environment are all different. And I have to say things differently. I have to talk about things differently. I'm a very direct person, I think, most of the time. And I know that there are people that I work with that might not do as well with that. And it's really kind of a mind fuck, quite honestly. I think that overall, our industry is never going to provide us mental health care. We're never going to have a fund through the BA, because I'm in a unique position. My wife is a mental health professional. She does mental health counseling. She is a therapist, which means that I've been in the unique position of having employees and friends for the past 10 years come to me and say, "Can you talk with your wife about someone so that I can maybe find a therapist?" Right. And it's a really unique thing when it's in the beer industry, because at the end of the day, it's always like, well, a therapist costs money, and sometimes a lot of money. Now, there are other options. It's not just money, money, money. He's this person. There's other options to go through. And I'm thankful that I've been able to have my wife, Allie, talk with those people and hopefully give them some options. But we're not in a position to ever be able to like wholesale go, okay, everyone gets a talk therapist they can go to. Everyone gets a mental health counselor they can go to. But feeling heard, in my opinion, in my life, from my position, is everything. If I feel like I can talk to somebody, I don't have to censor myself. And I also sometimes can be a little bit of an asshole and maybe go back and say, I'm sorry, I kind of I got on a tangent and I didn't really mean it. That work environment, I've worked in a very repressive one where I felt like I had to bite my tongue every second of every day. And I've steadily gotten to a position where I felt like everyone around me knows my heart, I think, and knows that if I say something out of turn, I can go back and apologize for it later. That's the environment I want to have. I probably don't have it as much as I think I do, but that's what I want.
Well, as I say, I think that's incumbent on you, Kevin, not to put the onus on you, but I think it's incumbent on you to know people at a personal level, right? Especially because, like, at a brewery your size, you're small enough that you can know every single person that works there.
Yeah, and that's what you should be doing at a smaller brewery too. It's like I would understand that, like, if I worked at a place like Creature Comforts or something, I don't need to the president, VP, people in the C-suite of that company, they don't really need to know like what my life is like or what my day-to-day is, but as long as they're like, pleasant to me when I see them, that's all I really kind of care about. But no, if you're in a smaller company and like this is I hold this onus onto my owners too. It's like I let them know when I'm not fucking happy about something, because I'm I'm a one-man operation too. I'm the only person making the beer. you know so it's and I told them that from the get-go. I was like, hey, like, I can be an emotional person sometimes whenever I get in these states, and this is like based on how what I've had to deal with and what I've worked on in previous jobs and stuff. So I just want to let you know that I get like this sometimes, and I just want you to hear me. And like my current guys have done a great job with that, when I was at a place like Eventide, though, not really, because those guys like didn't even like understand anxiety and stress. They're like, that doesn't happen to me, which I think is fucking weird. But they literally said that to me one time, because I was just straight up having a full-blown panic attack one day during work, and they were like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I'm having a panic attack. And they were like, I don't know what that is, go back to work. You know, which is an insane thing, but that was actually how they were.
That's a terrible environment. Yeah, that's
No,
really
it was
discouraging to hear.
it was not a good place. You know, I don't get happy about a place closing. I'm kind of happy that place is closing, because those people don't deserve to run a business and have other people's livelihoods depend on them, right? And that's, and like I really really feel for the front of house folks there. I'm friends with a lot of those front of house folks still. Like I really disown that brewery, and I've been pretty public about how much I do not like the people that own that place and the brewery itself. But I'm still friends with a lot of front of house people there, and like they know that too. Luckily, no one there really really works full time, so like they should be able to just grab another bartending job. So we're actually gonna get shifts to someone who's there right now, because he's a friend of mine. So I'm like, yeah, do you get the fuck out of there? Like, those people don't deserve your loyalty and your hard work and your good work ethic, because it's never reciprocated. I don't have a problem talking shit about breweries that do stuff like this too, because it's not we don't need that in our industry. I am, talking about the state of the industry in general. There's obviously a lot of breweries closing right now. I don't think it's completely a bad thing.
Yeah,
Not
I
at
mean,
all.
I think one of the things that has been great over the last 5 years is that we've gone away from people talking about salaries.
Mhm.
Like 5 years ago, if you told a coworker what you made, I remember one time I told a coworker what I made, and my boss pulled me aside and said, "We don't talk about that stuff." And I was
Oh
like,
yeah, fuck
and
that
I was like,
shit.
You
but
legally can. It's protected right.
well, and I did, but at the time, well, this wasn't 5 years ago. This was 15 years ago. But yeah, what I said was the whole thing was like, no, but the whole idea is that if we're gonna be better, we all have to be on the same page. And this whole like idea that like
Yeah.
the top gets to keep secrets and like pull these, and like, I'm not being pro union, anti union, whatever, but the way that different breweries have gone about it, at the end of the day, like there needs to be a certain amount of like A, transparency, and B, an ability for people to talk about some things. And some cultures that are against both of those become a big challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, yeah, I don't know. It's everyone's like it's we're all still like kind of working class too, for the
Yeah.
most part, right? Even on the ownership level too. And I think it's funny how I've seen that there's still like that divide with some people too, and I think it harkens back to like ego stuff. It's people have this ego because they own a spot, and like they have to, for some reason, feel like they have to lord it over other people. And like, I get it. It's like kind of, it can be like a sign of status for some people, but it's not. And I say that, and like the people who I've known that having that as a sign of status is important for them are also the ones that do not give a single fuck about how much their lowest workers are being paid and stuff. It's like, because
Yeah.
that's not the point of this, right? But yeah, at the end of the day, like we're all kind of in the shit together, no matter what's going on the macro level with everything. It's like we're all going to be together on it. So I don't see the point in being divisive in your own company.
If you look at any employee engagement survey that is worth a damn, I've been through this at Buffalo Wild Wings. I've been through this at Best Buy. Like, if you've been through any employee engagement survey that is worth a damn, what they say is one of the questions they ask is, do you have a best friend at work? And you know why you want a best friend at work? Fucking bitch. So I can be honest.
Yeah.
I don't want to take the shit out on a customer. I don't want to take the shit out on a manager. I don't want to take the shit out on a coworker. You know what? I have a best friend at work. We're like, we can go grab a beer at the Richfield VFW, where they remember that our favorite drink is Liney's, and they recognize Mike's Caprice Classic falling and driving into the lot. Now, this is a very specific memory. But like literally, like the idea is that no, you know what? I've got someone at work where like, yeah, man. Like when I was a manager at Best Buy, I used to tell my employees, go out together, bitch about me. I do not care.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say I do not care in a bad way. I'm just like, my ego can take that. Because at the end of the day, we're all going to come together and we're going to talk about these things. And if you hate me forever, yeah, we'll find a way to find you a different role. But if you just have like a little thing about me, like if you hate the way I pronounce my T's, or you hate the way I sip my tea, or you hate the way I spell my name
the
with
thing that's been
T.
bothering me this entire time. Everything
Finally,
to do with
he
the letter
actually
T.
admits it.
Yeah,
The way
Thank
you say
God.
your name, Tim.
yeah.
It's not
Oh,
Oh
right.
my God, he admitted.
drives me crazy.
Well, good. See, I'm glad we got this out, but thankfully you guys are not my employees, so you both can fuck off. But no,
You
the
guys are
reality,
my employees.
yeah. But the reality is like, I think everyone needs to be able to like. I don't need any coworker to ever tell me the intimate details of their life. But employee engagement happens when people trust each other to like open up. And if you want to punish anyone for saying, "Hey, this job isn't perfect," then you're a shithead manager. Don't ever, ever punish an employee for bad mouthing the company.
Yeah, I agree. Even if like there's always going to be those kind of cases where like that the person that's complaining from that was not doing a good job in any capacity either. But like even it's still worth getting feedback from those folks, right?
Yeah.
It's you nothing's ever going to be perfect, and you can't ever think anything's perfect. And the second you start doing that, then you're doing a bad job, and
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
totally fucked.
Yep.
It's I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, to kind of to tie all this up, and like skipped like a little bit of a thing I was gonna talk about as far as like the mental health journey goes, but like I am in a good spot now. I'm like in a spot where I feel like I can talk to the owners of my brewery, have my concerns, and like I wish I was still getting like a little bit more out of them, but like I also came into a situation where the beer wasn't doing very well and the overall reputation of the place wasn't very good. So, I spent the first year kind of trying to fix that. Like our distributor didn't want to really take a lot from us because it was always just kind of random shit. It wasn't very well thought out. It was just kind of like the brewer's playground kind of thing, which like there's a place for stuff like that, but it wasn't there, and it wasn't where we're at right now.
It's
So
usually not in distribution.
no, yeah,
At least
exactly.
with distributors.
Yeah.
At least.
But it's like so in Atlanta we have Brick Store Pub. Are y'all familiar with this spot?
Yep.
Okay. Brick Store is, I would argue, the best beer bar in the entire country. You can absolutely make that argument, and if you haven't been there or understand it, like you have to go there and see it to understand why this place is. They're the only place in the entire United States that gets Sierra Nevada Pale Ale on cask, because they have that kind of relationship and reputation, so when I took over this job, I knew that they would take the beer sometimes, and I went over there and talked. And y'all might, Florida boys might be familiar with Neil Callahan, who's the beer director there. He worked at Cigar City for a number of years. Yeah, so
He's a like sales guy, bar guy. Like he did a lot of different stuff at.
Yeah, he's kind of he's a jack of all trades guy. He's actually like in Atlanta right now. He's actually been running a lot of classes for people to pass their Cicerone exams that he's doing on the side on his normal duties at Brick Store, because he's that kind of person and he's great at what he does and gives a shit about what he does. But like I went in there when I took over because I knew they had carried beer before, so I wanted to get feedback from them. And it was, they were very honest. They were like, it was okay. It wasn't bad, but it also is not necessarily like at like the kind of caliber of what we're looking for in serving here. And like having my beer in that bar is such a huge deal for me professionally. So I was like, all right, I want to make sure that I can at least like get to a level where they're comfortable like buying stuff from me. And about after a year, I got to do a private beer and cheese event with them because they were so into what I was doing. They're like, yeah, we're gonna do this. They have this the second story of their bar. They have a Belgian bar, which they only pour all their Belgian stuff, but they do private events up there too. And they were like, yeah, let's bring on 5 of your beers and we're gonna do beer and cheese pairing, ticketed event, that whole thing. And it was sold out. It was insane. It was one of the coolest nights of my life. I got to go up there and talk about my beer while their head chef like picked cheeses for us to try it. And yeah, it is like the most iconic beer bar in Atlanta. And they give a shit about like what I do, which was cool. I couldn't believe it, honestly. It was totally insane to me. I've had that kind of validation now in my career. And like I said before, I was about to leave. I was at a brewery beforehand called Elsewhere, whom I really love. Like they make incredible beer, but they didn't really have a solid production position for me. I was managing their tap room a little bit, and doing like 2 shifts a week in the back, just kind of helping out with stuff. And I wanted to stay there permanently, but they were never gonna have a spot for me. And before that, I had a head brewing job at a bigger brewery in Atlanta that I told them to just fuck off because I was having a bad time. They didn't pay me 1 week, and I quit. And the owner got all mad at me while he's wearing a $12,000 watch, being like, "Oh, you need to, it's like you need to help us through these hard times doing this." No, I don't. So I have been working hard, and you haven't been doing anything to reciprocate that for me. So I'm done. Like I literally went back to bartending as much as I didn't want to. And it sucks. It felt bad, but it got me to where I am today.
It's not bad work if you can get it. I did.
The thing has crossed my mind from time to time.
Yeah, for sure.
I just didn't want to do it, which was my own personal ego problem that I had to kind of work through, because I probably wouldn't have had to move back to Florida during the pandemic if I at one point just went like, all right, I'll just go bartend or be a server somewhere just to, keep a steady paycheck. I was stubborn, and that was another thing I kicked myself for down the road too. Especially when I was back in Florida, I was like, why the fuck did I just not go get a job that I knew I would hate? But it was a job,
I miss bartending a lot of times. Like I watch what some of my friends are making, and I'm like, God, man.
I go back to what Kevin said before about beer festivals and working events. Like it is something that the customer does not need. They do not need me.
Yeah.
For like I
second that motion.
I like the money that comes with it. And I even like talking to certain people about it, but like for them, and I probably can give the information that most people are going to want to know about the beer and then some, but I'm going to be very short with certain people and unapologetic about it. And it's probably not best.
I've had a couple of times in my current spot where I've bartended. One, because I kind of wanted to, but 2, because it was like dire need. Like, oh my god, no one can fill in right now, and I'm like, I'll just do it. It's like, it's fine, I'll do it. And I was so fucking snarky with customers when I was doing it. And I'm like, I was like, I shouldn't do this.
So snarky. God, I hate to be this guy. Well, I'm gonna do it because I'm gonna be that guy. But the whole idea of somebody training for certified Cicerone, and I was like, oh, that's still a thing.
Yeah, I contemplated that probably like close to 10 years ago, and was just like, yeah, I don't want to spend that money. I don't want to spend that time on doing it for what? Like I very early on saw that, like, yes, they want this to be the the sommelier type of thing of the beer industry, but that is, I don't see it as the same
the
tick
customer
on
doesn't
your
get
resume.
well.
Like,
The customer doesn't give a shit. I know. So like I've met Ray several times. I've gone out to dinner with Ray. He's a very great guy. He even himself admits that he doesn't have the palate. Like he wouldn't pass the Master Cicerone test. He also so I remember seeing him at that same GABF where I met Joel that he doesn't remember. Ray was judging IPAs, and I went up to him and I was like, "Hey Ray, how is judging going?" He's like, the problem is with IPAs is that my palate is wrecked immediately." He's like, "So any of these could be good IPAs. I honestly don't know."
Yeah, it's a lottery category.
Yeah, exactly. But also, like I said, he himself admits that like he couldn't pass the Master Cicerone. But again, I don't know anyone who gives a shit about that anymore. At least not up here. Like I know a lot of guys. There was
We
a
have a
guy.
couple. We have a couple people in the Atlanta beer scene that are. I'm not gonna use the term beer influencer. They are technically that, but they are not that. They are not like that in a negative connotation that is usually surrounded by that, because like these are like
Sure.
people that actually give a fuck about
Oh, for sure.
education and stuff. So
Yeah.
I actually think that that's like a better avenue for that these days. I don't think brewers need it.
Oh, is
It's
this
like
what's so we had that, and that guy hasn't done anything worth. He's a friend of mine. I'm not gonna shit on him, but my point is like he hasn't done anything worth value in the beer industry in like 5 years, and maybe again, not
it's
to be a
probably
dick.
dried up for him.
Well, I was gonna say not to be a dick, but I do feel like Minneapolis is like just 5 years ahead of Atlanta in a lot of ways because we just passed the things a little bit earlier and we're a little bit
right.
ahead. But the point is that like it meant a lot for a while. And I know people that are master cicerones that don't even put it on their resume anymore because they're like, it no longer carries weight. Like distributors don't give a shit about it.
Yeah.
Restaurants don't give a shit about it.
It's never meant like what becoming a sommelier means, right? And like I
Yeah.
think that's supposed to be the major intention behind it, but until the actual public perception behind it shifts to being that, like, yeah, like I'm not gonna knock anyone for wanting to go and do it, and because like it's so fucking
Yeah,
hard to do. Like, yeah,
it's a self beneficial thing. Like
right.
if it
Oh, for
makes
sure.
you feel better about yourself and you feel like you're self improving, like awesome, go for it.
Yeah.
Like I thought to myself, I can learn a lot of stuff online and through practical experience.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with that.
Hey,
And
hey,
if
I
someone
was
doesn't want to hire me because of that, then all right, fine. But that just really isn't the case.
I was pretty happy with how I did last week or 2 weeks ago in the whole beer styles category on our trivia contest.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Like I honestly felt like it's like holy shit, maybe I'm not that bad at this. But so like Kevin, you used to be a wine steward.
Yeah, I just want to know: did we start a whole new episode on Cicerone? Because I mean,
Probably.
I just want to make sure that I know what we're gonna, to dedicate the next hour and a half of my time to. I just want to
It's
make sure.
Yeah, we
variety
should wrap
show.
this up. This is fair.
Yeah, we did do very early on in the show did a certification thing, which maybe we'll revisit sometime. But yeah, I do feel like we need to wrap things up here shortly. But and by shortly we can just say right now because I have that power. I wield.
You are in
this
charge. You
hammer.
are the boss of us.
Come on,
Yes.
Charles.
Y'all have kids, and
You guys are my family.
I have cats, so it's a different thing. So
By the way, this is absolutely fantastic. This rice lager.
oh, thank you.
This
Yeah.
might be my favorite beer so far that I've opened.
It has lavender in it. Isn't that fucking crazy?
It's delicious. It's
really?
so well. It's so delicious.
I can't
love it.
wait. I was gonna say that heavy metal font was as good as Mastodon.
Oh, good. I mean, so quick little thing, and we're trying to wrap up. But one thing I want to talk about earlier. So I think the best hazy IPA on the market currently is Hazy Little Thing from Sierra Nevada.
Yeah.
And it's specifically because they approach that with balance that still has all the flavors and everything you want. I approach it the same way. I don't have a giant facility, obviously, but one of my big gripes with hazy IPAs, especially in package, is when you get one and it has a shit ton of yeast in it, and that's not how you get haze stability. And for some reason, there's a lot of brewers that fucking think that for some reason. So I really approach from a brewing process. I want to make sure that my beers, even though I don't filter them, that they don't have a ton of yeast in them either. Because especially with hazy IPAs are good when you have stable haze that's not from yeast. It's from hops and malt and other shit that you're doing, And I tried with that beer. So thank you.
Spencer, I could kiss you on the mouth for saying that. And if I ever meet you, I will. And I apologize in advance, but you're gonna get a big wet kiss.
I'm new to Atlanta, baby. We got so much cool shit here. I'm a huge. I love Atlanta. It's a really wonderful city. We have our problems. So if I ever hear anyone talking shit about Atlanta, I will. I'll fucking go at them. Only I can talk shit about
Hub
Atlanta.
to Delta Hub. I think it's gonna be a fucking cheap flight for me. I'll come on down and
just come and we'll hang out. We'll drink some beers. We'll go get some really good barbecue around the corner from me. And we'll go to Brickstore because it's literally the best beer bar in the country.
You had me at barbecue.
Hell yes.
You had me at come on down.
No, exactly.
But all right, let's get into last calls, point in the show where we give each other an unspecific amount of time. Maybe I'll give us a specific amount of time to talk about whatever it is that we want. Beer related, not beer related. The only rules, uninterrupted, unopposed, unobjected. We'll let our guest, Spencer, start things off. What's your last call?
Wait, I actually thought about this a lot earlier. But I was able to kind of put everything into a broader category. Shout out to people who give a fuck about what they do, whether that be, art, business, your personal life, and everything. And I do have like a music analog for this. My current favorite band is death metal band called Tomb Mold from Canada, who I got to see twice recently. But I read an article about they put out this really, really beautiful record in 2023, which even if you don't like super heavy stuff, I still recommend checking out. It's very progressive and they do a lot of like weird shit in it, but still maintain this core heaviness they've always had. But I read an article about how it's a 40-minute record. They track the entire thing in 3 days, like nonstop. And but they talked about how they as musicians weren't feeling like they were quite where they needed to be. So and like they're already insane musicians. Like I tried to learn some of the songs on guitar and like I couldn't even remotely get close to what the fuck they were doing. And they're like, yeah, we went and took lessons so we could get better and make this really incredible record. And it's just like it's just one of the coolest things I've ever heard. But it made me think about, yeah, it's like being deliberate about a thing that you like and you do is so fucking cool in all aspects. I was at this Cajun barbecue spot that had just opened a week ago, earlier today. That's where I had my dinner before I came and talked with y'all. And like, you want to talk about like a new concept, brand new restaurant, like nailing it from the get go because they knew what they wanted to do. But it's because they give a fuck about it though. It's not half-assed in any capacity. It isn't like, oh, we're just going to do this because it might like work out and be a cool thing. It's like, no, I appreciate people being deliberate about what they do and that translating into art and anything else that they might be doing. It's refreshing to see because, it's almost like it when you do it for yourself, it's like being reciprocated. Right. And that just feels good. And yeah, that's about it. I was going to talk about comics maybe, but that's about it.
Tim?
I had a last call, but I'm going to completely pivot and I'm going to just give a giant shout out to our guest Spencer. I have literally his beers have made me kind of fall back in love with beer. Like I'll be honest, like I've been annoyed with a lot of beers, and I've had three of his beers tonight, and every one of them have been just absolutely phenomenal. But just talking to him about beer reminded me what a beer nerd I am. Like to be able to talk about hops and malt and yeast and equipment and all of that. I Holy shit! Like I miss this nerdy shit. Like it's so good. I've been so grateful to have him on. I feel like he is a guy that I would probably fall down a rabbit hole some night. We'll sit down at a bar and we'll have way too many drinks and we'll talk about way too many stupid things. And the next thing we know, it's like 2 a.m. and we're talking about why things is if they are not are. And like that I feel is why like you know, also just I appreciate his honesty and his sincerity. It's very vulnerable to talk about things like pay or mental health or like what you're going through or the way you navigate life. It's not easy, man. I'm 45 and I still get kind of embarrassed talking about navigating my life. So, yeah, no, this last call is to you, Spencer. So thank you.
Hell yeah, brother. Thank you.
I wanna give a shout out to Tim for giving a shout out to Spencer. No. Now, like, Tim said something there that very much was a part of what I wanted to mention is just that, like, this life that we live, it's never going to always be easy, and like this past week and a half for me has been really tough with dealing with my kids having very big feelings about a lot of things. Right now they're going to be 3 in November, and they want to just do what they want, and they don't want to listen. And but it's one of those points where I love you unconditionally, kid, but you are not my best friend right now. And uh, I, Allie, my wife, and I, we've been going through it. My wife was texting with Kevin's wife earlier today, asking questions about some of this stuff, because you know it puts a damper on you sometimes. But there's for every single one of those moments that feels like that they are dragging on for hours, and it's like 10 minutes sometimes, but like for one of them to then come up to me holding a little notepad in one hand, holding a crayon in the other, and going, "Daddy, what you want eat?" And thinking that he's a waiter. And I was just like, like, you're hilarious. Like, thank you. They have called people idiots because of me. They have cursed. One of them had the sun come in his eye the other day, and he went, "Ah, fuck." And my immediate reaction was, "Ah, fuck," because, yep, you heard that from me. But yeah, this shit's tough, and it's rewarding, and it's really fucking tough. And yeah, I just wanted to say how, God, these kids are great, but they're terrors, and it's just, yeah, such a journey. Kevin?
Very difficult, Mike. I've been in your position before, never with two, but I can understand it. So this last weekend, I was in Detroit to see some family. I went back home for a family reunion, and a lot of the family that I went to see, there was like 60 people at this family reunion I haven't seen in 25 years. And these were people that I was willfully estranged from for a long time because I didn't have a great family background with these people. I mean, they were wonderful when I was growing up, but there's reasons why I was estranged from them. And I was really nervous about it. I was worried about the politics, that there was a lot of Trump votes in this 60, 70 people that were at this event. I'm not one of those. There was a lot of political, social things that I was really worried about that were going to come out of these conversations. Are going to see me for the first time since I was 18 years old, some of these people, and I was worried about what was going to come up. And all my fears were unfounded. I just talked to these people and caught up with them and gave them hugs and said hello. And it was really lovely. I mean, really, really lovely. And by the way, smattered in that were some overtly racist comments that I had to kind of sweep under the rug. And a few other things here and there that were like, oh, that's why I haven't seen you in a very long time. But I was worried about this, and I am so glad that I did it. And there's a quote, I can't remember where it comes from, where, the older you get, the more you need the people that knew you when you were young. I don't know that that's true for everybody. And by the way, there are good reasons why to stay the fuck away from people that knew you when you were young. There's good reasons why you don't need to be around. You choose your own family. I believe that. I really believe that. I've chose mine. And I don't want to push anyone into something that they would feel uncomfortable with. But if you have been estranged, or you haven't seen some people in a long time and you've been really apprehensive about it, just kind of remember that people are people. And even though you might not agree on a lot of things, there is something that we all share. And if you have a history with these people, maybe it's going to be okay, just like it was for me. So if you've been thinking about it, maybe that's a good path for you.
Nice. Spencer, do you want to plug anything?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Twitter, also known as x.com. I'm gonna actually look up my handle because I don't even remember what it is these days. It is SPENCIVS, Ancient Texan. Don't remember where I got that from. I lived in Texas at one point, so that's probably somewhere where it came from. But yeah, I'm on there. I mostly just post whatever crazy ass metal records I listen to every Friday or so. That's about it. Sometimes talk about beer when I feel good about something.
When
So.
you feel so inclined.
Yeah, occasionally. But yeah, I'm the head brewer at Sceptre Brewing Arts. If you're ever we're specifically in Decatur, but it's still Atlanta. So if you're ever in Atlanta, Georgia, please just hit me up. And I always want to have a beer with people. So
You make me very much want to come to Atlanta with I only had 2 beers tonight.
well, let's go. Atlanta is fun as shit. There's a lot of cool stuff here, especially if you have not spent like meaningful time here other than passing through. Like there's a lot of cool stuff, especially just from if you're just looking at like kind of like bars, breweries, nightlife kind of stuff. Yeah. And also we have a billion concert venues, so there's always something cool coming through here.
Yeah, it always seemed like a lot of acts would stop in Atlanta and then never
go to
Florida.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't blame them.
Yeah.
It's hard tour routing though, if you're being real.
Yeah. Back when Tom Waits would tour, it was always like Atlanta, then let's move back up. And like, I'm never gonna see you.
How it goes.
Tim, you want to plug anything?
2 things. I want to plug the Minnesota Twins destroying the Tigers while Kevin was watching that game.
Nice.
But then also I want to plug Sceptre Brewing Arts because I don't think we've actually named the brewery enough in this episode.
Oh, enough. Okay.
Well, no, he mentioned it now, and I know you're gonna do it in your fake preview. Blah 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 blah.
Fake?
Well, but we didn't actually like, as we've talked about everything that Spencer's doing. We have not said Sceptre Brewing Arts, and I feel like I have to do it like Wade Boggs Carpet World, where I have to say it 3 times in a row. in a row, but but Sceptre Brewing Arts. So go check them out. I've never been, but I've now met the head brewer, and he seems like a rad dude. So I think it's worth doing it. And also his beers are awesome.
Thank you.
Kevin, you want to plug anything?
I want to plug the fact that I was at the Tigers game against the Twins at Comerica Park on Saturday when they won 7-2 when Terrace Google pitched, and I was in my joy of watching that game with my son 2 rows back off the first base line.
I thought you
And it
told me
was-
that you were at a game that they lost.
No,
Uh,
they
okay.
lost the first game of the series, and the last game of the series they won the middle game because Scooble was pitching, and it was amazing. Baez hit a home run. Colt Keith hit a home run. My son was in joy.
So you watched a win in a losing series, is what you're
Yeah,
saying?
absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Because the Tigers are a very good team. So I just got a chance to go to the
matters.
good game, and it was lovely. So I don't know why I'm plugging that because that doesn't make any sense, but I'm doing it now as a response to you, Tim.
I'm plugging having watched a baseball game.
Yes.
I am plugging having driven a car. That is that how we plug things? At Mike Loves Beer, you can follow me in those places. Spencer, thanks so much for being here, man.
Yeah, thanks
this
for
was
having
Thank
me
you very
on,
much,
Al.
man.
It's been awesome.
Oh, and thank you so much for all of the beers. Like,
Of course.
I'm
No,
I'm
Jesus,
my
like
pleasure.
so stoked to
17
try the
beers.
rest of these.
Yeah, that's the whole point, though. It's like you have to experience the full thing. You know.
They're
Yeah.
great, man. They're really,
Obviously,
really good.
if either of y'all are ever in Atlanta, please let me know. Even if it's like a layover at the airport, which happens for a lot of people. I'm a 10-minute drive from the airport, so I will come and get you, and then I'll take you to a bar, and then bring you right back to the airport when you need to be there. So
Oh, Jesus, that sounds amazing.
It's like it's
I
like
do
a
want
damn
to
it,
point out.
freaking Uber.
I do want to point out that Spencer said either of y'all, which I think he means Mike and Tim, and he's excluding me. I
Oh
think
no,
that's
Kevin!
what he's doing.
So I'm actually gonna be in Fort Lauderdale for Thanksgiving. So I am making a point to go to Barrel and Monks while I'm there.
Reach out, brother. You're on an email with me. Let me know when you're coming
I
down.
just say, Spencer, I now have your email.
Yeah, you
I
got
now
my
have your email,
now.
so you're going to be beholden to this.
That sounds like a threat, by the way.
It's fine to
Tim,
me.
just
Hey
so you
man,
know.
the best my favorite part about this industry, and one of the reasons I have stayed in it as long as I have, is because I love hanging out with other people that give a shit about all this. And like yeah, Tim, you want to come and just like talk shop for like 12 hours? That's like one of my
Jesus
favorite
Christ.
things to do. And yeah, we do it at my brewery, so no one has to pay for beer.
Yeah, let's do that. And also, Kevin, literally the only way I make friends is by threats.
One more time, a big thanks to Spencer for coming on the show and chatting with us for a long time. Maybe we got a little out of hand and we lost track of time there, but you know, that can happen when you're talking about things you love, things you're passionate about, and talking with good people. And Spencer is definitely good people. Please do go and visit him over there at Sceptre if you have the chance, if you're in the Atlanta area. I'm sure that he would love for you to say hi and to drink his beer. Thank you to all of you for coming and joining us on this episode of the podcast. Be sure to check out our website, UnitedWeDrink.com. We're also on all of the social media platforms. We're at United We Drink on Twitter. We're at United We Drink Pod on Instagram and Threads. We're on Facebook as well. Check out our web store, UnitedWeDrink.com/store for shirts, buttons, stickers, and all of that fun stuff. We also have some brands that we love over on our website at UnitedWeDrink.com. We have things such as Trade Coffee, Made In Cookware, and so much more that if you make a purchase from them through those links, we get a little kickback that helps us pay for some of our web hosting. And that's really it. We don't make a whole lot of money from this shindig. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another new episode and a fun one. Guests, plural. We're really looking forward to that one. So we'll see you then. Thank you, everyone, and cheers.
but maybe. Me and both, but maybe. Me and both, but maybe. Me and both.
But maybe.